Oh, boom. Going live.
We're live.
We are live, everyone.
I am alive.
So, if we have any audio problems or anything, just please let us know in the live chat, which I'm switching to right now.
Just tell us whose mic is fucked and we'll fix it later.
Yeah. I've been noticing, I've been actually watching these live streams back, and my audio is pretty freaking crappy on some of them, and I think that's because I'm doing Skype and OBS at the same time, so sometimes the microphone gets hijacked by Skype, and then in OBS it defaults to a stupid crappy mic. So hopefully I have it worked out so it won't do that anymore. But
Okay.
All right, so the idea for this stream is just to kind of do anything, talk about anything. I have the wonderful Alex here from Transhumania YouTube channel, and I have Bobby from the Life Extension Research channel. And we are doing collaborations these days. We've just been doing a pre-meeting, talking about some of our projects we're going to be working on together.
Yeah, so we went over like a couple of topics for this live stream. I think we had a couple of them. We had we're going to talk about coronavirus because it's getting worse. We're going to talk about the stock market, like what happened this week. The stock market just fucking like the Fed cut rates and the stocks are still going down and people are losing their shit. So we're going to talk about that for sure because I think that's a bigger danger than the coronavirus because you got like the looters and like the fucking prepping and like.
Well, it's difficult. It's difficult to know which one's more scary, honestly, because coronavirus could get more aggressive at any moment and go full-blown pandemic. And I mean, just pandemics in general are existential risks and may even be worse than the climate crisis.
Right.
And like really,
dude, you're totally right because like like the Spanish flu. Just like how the coronavirus only kills boomers, right? Like it'll only kill you if you're 60 and over and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, the Spanish flu. That only, like, the first year that it was killing people, it only killed boomers. Then the second year it mutated and started killing, like, young people. It was, like, 50 million people died. It was brutal. It killed more people than the World War.
Somebody in the live stream, Elena says, my mic sounds pretty bad. Elena, do you mean it sounds bad right now in this live stream, or was it sounding bad in previous ones? Does it sound bad now?
Your mic sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me, too.
Yeah, I just wonder how it sounds in the actual live stream. Does my mic sound bad right now, Elena? Hopefully not.
I mean, it does kind of sound like you're in a bathroom, but
really,
we'll get better. No, we'll get better equipment.
Don't
worry.
Yeah, especially once we have my podcast or our podcast set up, it's gonna be so legit, man. So I told everybody kind of about this a little bit, but I could explain it super quick. We'll have a bunch of terrariums and aquariums as our chairs and our tables. We'll have diverse species, and we'll be testing life extension treatments on them during the podcast, feeding them our life extension.
And by the way, the aquariums will have freaking sharks with freaking laser beams attached to their freaking head. And so, yeah, like, it's going to be a regular podcast. So,
yeah.
If you guys want to see more like this, we're going to do an actual channel.
Yeah, but we've been interviewing scientists, like really famous scientists trying to defeat death, and and various philosophers, and we have some wealthy investors lined up who are trying to extend lifespan. So we have about 15, I think, interviews, like maybe 10 or 15. I'm not sure how many we have. I'm
just doing an audio check right now. Does it sound better now, people? I think I know why my audio just sounded sucky because, so what happens is I used my microphone in other programs, and it auto defaulted jacks up the volume. And this is a Yeti mic, so it's extremely sensitive, and so I have to turn it down, and so I think it might sound better. Does it sound better now, people?
Yeah, does it sound crackly? Because I don't hear it. I don't think it's that loud.
Okay.
All right,
okay, yeah, so like we were saying, we were going to have these, so far we had coronavirus, the stock market. We're also going to talk about religion, like how we could reform religions to make them less existentially dangerous. And how I don't know, Bobby and I might be at odds with this because I actually oppose new atheism. He supports it, but I think religion could be made better.
No, I didn't say that. I just like talking to them.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I'm not new atheist per se because I think religion does have some practical use, and I don't think people need to be forced to be religious. I think they'll just do it by default because it builds communities, it builds them from these disconnected, atomized individuals. What's that noise?
Yeah.
I hear like something.
So, what do you guys want to start with?
We'll start with the coronavirus. Yeah, so like China, that just hit like 100,000 coronavirus cases and like 3,000 deaths. I think Italy is in second place with 6,000 cases and 300 deaths. And then here in America, we're lucky. We only have 500 cases with 19 deaths. But now, Rowan, I need you to go into like Google Images and pull up a graph. Audience can see. Pull up coronavirus death rate.
Yeah, but it's the destruction of the coronavirus isn't.
I heard that it was mainly killing old people, right? Yep. So it's not really.
The destruction of the coronavirus isn't necessarily based on the death rate, though. Death rate is obviously important, but it's also based on the economic impact and based on how many people are even like who's killing. And for example, Iran, it's sort of collapsing Iran right now.
Yeah.
And of course, China is a huge part of our world economy, and there's just major disruption occurring now because China is having a tough time doing anything, right? So
yeah, I agree with Bobby. Like, if you look at like your chances of dying on the graph Rowan is pulling up, if you're between the ages of like 20 and 50, it's like 0.2%. And then when you hit your 50s, it's like 3%. And then in your 60s and 70s, it's like, I don't know, like 8%. And then when you hit your like 80s, it suddenly becomes like 20% or like some crazy statistic. And then like, I mean, like Ebola, just look at Ebola. I think that killed more people than the coronavirus. And if you just look at like the actual flu,
already
more yeah, but the actual flu alone, like the regular flu, is more deadly than the coronavirus. Like 30,000 people.
Corona's killed more than Ebola.
No, listen. In 2019, 30,000 people in America alone died from the flu. So that's just the regular flu, and that's just America alone. Like imagine.
Yeah.
So
I gotta just test my audio. Someone's saying I sound too quiet now. Elena says I sound too quiet. Do I sound quieter than them? Because I look at my audio levels. It sounds like I sound about right. Sorry, I just had to check that. I'm looking at my audio levels as I'm talking. You guys talk right now.
I think you sound the same, more or less, than what you sounded like 10 minutes ago.
What I sound like to you guys might not necessarily be what I sound like to them. That's the issue. So like,
talk to us, Elena. Talk to us.
Yes.
Does Rowan sound crackly, or does he sound like mumbly, or does he sound just right? Goldilocks zone.
Right. Tell us. Quieter. I'm quieter.
How do you guys
than
know
them?
each other, by the way? Is she like I know she's Hawaiian, and you lived in Hawaii.
Yeah, she's been in
Are you
my
guys like
live
best
streams.
friends in Hawaii?
I never met her in real life. She's been in my live streams.
Hey guys, so I got the scientist calling me right now, and so I'll try to be back as soon as possible. But yeah, I miss you guys, and make sure everyone who's viewing this, make sure you subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe to Bobby's channel.
Because
Bobby has a great channel where he does compilations. I love his compilations.
So right now, Bobby has 500 subscribers. Those are rookie numbers. Got to pump those numbers up.
Live Extension Research YouTube channel. Just type in Live Extension Research and freaking because look, we're trying really. The more you help us, this is a good way to defeat death, right, guys? And we're about to be live streaming our experiments on diverse species and stuff. That's gonna be our podcast soon. We're gonna be treating them with the most robust life extension formula that we're patenting. So yeah, stay freaking tuned. And yeah, guys,
you said
peace.
Robust.
All right, I'm just so curious. I just have to listen to what it sounds like to them right now for a second.
Right.
Let me just take 10 seconds.
Really?
Do I sound quieter than them? Because I look at my audio levels. It sounds like I sound.
And you lived in Hawaii.
See you guys.
Subscribe to Bobby's channel.
Because
Bobby has a great channel where he does compilations. I love his compilations.
Bro,
I sound
like
fine.
To get the GoPro.
I sound
I'll
fine.
go on Amazon and order it right now.
I sound fine.
I heard some background noise in Bobby's camera. I think he's like setting up for a frat party or something. Do you know if he lives in dorms or Greek life?
I don't. He has got an interesting living situation. I don't know if I should even talk about.
Like I go to like Greek parties, but like I can't afford it. Like it's very exclusive.
Right.
But I don't know.
Hey,
you're in college to learn.
tell me about your party you went to. How was that?
Oh yeah. It was nice to like get away from civilization a bit and lakeside cabins and shit where there's none of this coronavirus shit. And if something did go down, there's plenty of food nearby, and I got like survival skills and shit that I use for like life extension. Speaking of which, I think we should take the coronavirus seriously, but not because of the actual fucking virus. The virus itself is not that deadly, like I said before, and like Bobby said, I think we all agree that it's not as bad as we think it is. But it's not the virus we have to be worried about. What we have to worry about is the deathists who start panicking and then looting shit. So while like I'll say like most deathists are just like morons with like room temperature IQs, and they can still be like dangerous. Like at the bitter end, a deathist would rather choose like looting, rape, and murder over survivalism. Like they don't want to live in the post-apocalyptic world, so they'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna like live it up. I don't care about making it through the panic. I just want to like grab as much out of humanity as possible and give nothing back. It's like total nihilism. Just squeeze every last bit of the lemon until the lemon is fucking dry, and just enjoy the heat of the moment. Right. And I think this is why we should go to the range this weekend and like brush up on our technique and like marksmanship. Because like while the virus is probably only going to kill in like the tens of thousands, I think like the actual like martial law and like the economic consequences could lead to a total like civilizational collapse. And you got like the military doing whatever they want, the police doing whatever they want. Like if you think cops are bad now, imagine what cops will be like after the collapse. I don't know. Well, like I said, ACAB, 1312. Right. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is like, I don't know if you own guns or like what methods of self-defense you have, but if you don't, we could like put together a plan, and I could like share some of my stuff with you, and we could I think we're better off like with strength in numbers for like when the looting and shit starts.
Heck yeah. All right. Elena says I'm still too quieter, and I'm quieter than you guys. I don't know why she would say that. Because
I think you might be quieter than me. Just maybe like turn it up one bar.
All right, I just increased the gain. I mean, I just increased the gain by like a bunch. How do I sound now? Does I sound louder now, Elena? Hopefully. So, hopefully I sound better now.
I think you're a little. Did you turn it up?
I did. I turned it up quite a bunch.
I think you're a little bit louder. I think it's probably better.
Well, you wouldn't notice it unless you're actually listening to the volume of the live stream.
You want me to open the live stream? I had it open a second ago.
Sure. I think she said great. I sound better now.
Oh, she said great? Okay, never mind.
Okay.
She probably
I guess we're good.
I do.
All right, we're good. We're good.
So anyway, like I was saying, like the deathists, like they're very strange creatures. Like they don't want to contribute to the future of humanity because they have like very short time preference, right? Mm-hmm. So they're like the deathist is like a degenerate. He's a nihilist. He's a hedonist. He's a rapist, a murderer. They won't form communities to pool resources, but they might form like gangs and like packs. Like they'll hunt in packs and they'll purge in packs, kind of like biker gangs, but without like the brotherhood. It's just like a temporary alliance, you know. Mm-hmm. So like, they just want to purge. Like in the movie The Purge, those are those people. Like they just want to enjoy it before they die. They don't want to live in the post-apocalyptic world.
Right.
Together, right? They don't have the abstract reasoning to imagine like a better life beyond the collapse, right? So, I mean, deathists are cockroaches, and when they attack your house, you need to shoot them like cockroaches. Like this is the one. I know that sounds very like Hotel Rwanda, like the Tutsi cockroaches, but hear me out.
I love it. We got the Purge, man. The Purge. The deathist Purge.
This is normally like I wouldn't condone like murdering people, just like shoot them in the legs to stun them, but you never know with these people. So like if your life is at stake, you should defend yourself. Like the deathist is a heretic who worships the Reaper. They worship Thanatos. They worship the death drive, as Freud called it. Mm-hmm. Secretly down, they want to die. They just manifest that in their actions. They engage in riskier behavior. They just want to die pleasurably. They want to die, but they want to enjoy dying, you know?
Right.
So while murder is wrong, in this one specific instance, I'd say it's okay to kill to kill people to protect yourself from them. And I mean, like, murdering deathists isn't really murder because they're like consciously being suicidal. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, if the cops will do it, like, citizens can do it. So don't worry about like the laws afterwards, as long as like you got like cameras in your house and you can prove you were defending yourself or whatever, I don't think it'll be that bad.
So yeah, what Bobby's talking about is like in a scenario. I mean, what Alex is talking about is a scenario where
I'm not scared of the virus. I'm not scared of the virus. I'm worried about the people.
Where they willingly go in like an arena situation where they're freaking killing each other because they want to.
I mean, like it's not just like it's not
Purge.
just like post-apocalyptic gangs. It's also not just jihadis and suicide bombers. Like deathism exists in every religion and every political ideology, especially fascism and communism. Because in fascism and communism, one is expected to die for their race and their class. Like their conception of immortality is like, oh, I'll die, but my race will live on or whatever, which it won't. Spoiler alert, by the way. Just watch my channel to figure out like humanity's not a static state. It's going to change. People evolve, and there might be like machine people in the future, and they might not give a shit about what races are around, you know. And
right.
So just don't die for something abstract. To them, like this Reaper worship, that is their interpretation of immortality, and you have to recognize that as kind of a heresy or whatever we're going to call it. So we sound like the Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. What are we? American?
Yeah. Have you been keeping up with the news? Any cool news lately that you've read?
Oh yeah. So like I read about like the stock market this week.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially like the there was a huge drop in like the Fed cut rates, and it went back up a little while, and then it dropped again. And what people were blaming that on, like the media, they were saying like, oh, Biden won Super Tuesday, which is like when all the like all the southern states vote for their Democratic primary. Mm-hmm. And they're like, that's why it went up. I'm like, are you kidding me? Fucking the economy doesn't skyrocket just because Biden wins like 8 states or some shit. I think this was an attempt by the Fed to try and like quell the panic of the stock market, and it didn't work. Because if you look at Friday, it dropped again. So, like I've said many times before, your best life extension strategy, like your best bet for life extension, is financial, right? The future always has better technology than the present, unless you're a Roman in Rome while it's burning, in which case it's not. But most of the time in human civilization, the technology of the future is always better, right? So obviously, when you got your sick shit covered, you got your diet, you got your sleep, you got exercise, you got supplements, you got stem cell storage. What's next, right? This is the next big goal, right? Is investing, because it'll let you afford all these fancy futuristic genetic engineering treatments and like artificial organs. And you don't know what kind of life extension technology we're going to get in the next 20 years, but you want to be able to afford it, right?
And a nice surrogate robot that you could travel the world with, right? And do all the dangerous stuff.
You want to have like the sex bot discussion later?
No, well, I'm talking about the surrogate robots where you can plug into a surrogate robot, and I could be walking the streets of Japan right now, not having to travel, and I just rent a surrogate robot that's in Japan, and I'm like walking down the streets, and it looks like I'm there, but I'm just in a surrogate robot.
Yeah, I mean, so last time I told you like about the SP500, right? Like to just put all your money into that. Well, that's like a very pleb thing to do, and I was trying to simplify it for like the majority of people. But you guys, I guess you want to take me and Rowan's advanced finance class. All right, fine. So here's what you do instead of the SP500, right? So this is called the sector rotation strategy, right? So think of the stock market like seasons, and there's winter, spring, summer, and fall. Fall and winter is the bear market when stocks are going down, like that's what we're in right now. And then spring and summer, that's the bull market when the stocks go up, right? So a year in this cycle is maybe like 20 years or 10 years. And most of this year is summer, and spring, fall, and winter are very, very tiny. So what you want to do is to make more money in these kinds of weird downturns is you want to change the type of stocks you invest in. Don't just put it all into one ETF. Change the type of stocks you're buying, right? So the average normie will just invest in the Vanguard Total and call it a day. They don't really care about what they buy with their money. They just leave it there and hope it grows, which it will, because as long as you're not Romans, you know. But there, you can actually make way more money with this strategy, and here's how you do it. So, you always need to see ahead of the curve and decide which kinds of stocks are going to fall and which ones are going to go up. So let's start with the fall season, right? So in fall, the stocks are tanking, and right now the coronavirus is running rampant and people are panicking. So the best stocks to get in the fall are energy and utilities. Because guess what? Like nations will be stocking up on like oil and shit, right? They're going to be stocking up on energy and like all the stuff their government needs to survive, because it's going into uncertain territory.
Mm-hmm.
Then when we get to winter, so the market has now crashed. So winter is when you're at the very bottom, like you have the dip, the very bottom. This is as low as it's going to be, and this is called the valley. So almost no money is to be made here unless we look closer, right? So what do people want in a recession? Any guesses? Okay, so in the winter, in the recession, you want food and medicine. Everybody, no matter who you are, you need food and medicine.
Right.
The price of medicine will skyrocket. And food will fly off the grocery shelves. It's not happening now, but once this virus gets worse and the stocks get worse, that's what will happen. So, if you're prepared for this, you invest in these two things. You sell your utilities, sell your energy, and you buy food, and you buy healthcare. It's called consumer staples, by the way, when you buy the stock. It's not called food.
Okay.
So these things are the only commodities that are consumed at a stable rate. So next we have spring, right? So the banks are lending again. The market's bottomed up. It's coming back up. So now you want to splurge on stocks because everything's as cheap as it'll ever be. And the two kinds of stocks you want this time are technology and industrials. So like life extension companies, Rowan?
Yeah.
So this is the time to go buy up the life extension companies because this is the time that they're ready to do business.
So it would be like buying stocks of Liz Parrish's company, BioViva.
Exactly. Yeah, she's got like a biotechnology company. There's a huge convergence between like infotech, which is like computer science, and biotech, which is biology and chemistry. I think there's going to be a huge convergence because you're going to use AI to start finding genes in people. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of these interesting companies are going to spring up, but it only happens during the spring. Because if you wait till the summer, these companies aren't going to grow as fast. It's too late by then. You have to see the spring coming and buy then when the time is right. So this is when we go find the robotics companies, the AI companies, and this very short window is when they'll be ready for us. By the time you get to summer, the economy is growing very, very slowly, and it's too late. You won't make any money. Because right now, when you get to the spring, if you invest during the spring, you might like quadruple or even like decuple your investment, right? Because it's when people are starting companies. It's when they're looking for investors, and that's the cheapest it'll ever be to get in. So next we get to summer, right? And this is the longest of the seasons. It is super long, and it's many years of slow growth. So you sold your food, you sold your healthcare stocks. Now you got your technology stocks and your industrial stocks. Now you want to sell those too once you hit summer, and this time you want to buy it's called consumer discretionary, aka luxuries. So like like these fancy cars, companies that sell that, right? So luxury goods. And the second thing you want is finance. So finance and luxury. That's what you want in the summer, because while everything else grows slowly in the summer, these things are going to grow super fast because rich people have fucking money and poor people do not. Mm-hmm. And also, poor people will buy this shit too because poor people spend money they don't have on shit they don't need. So,
right,
that's how it works. So, this is the kind of stuff that the average cattle at the stock market don't think about. Like, this is what you got to start thinking about if you really, really want to be able to afford these next technologies, right? Mm-hmm. So, I need you to pull something up on Google Images. Okay. This is probably the most important advice I will give you on this entire podcast, right?
All right.
So here's what I want you to type in.
Okay.
So go to Google Images.
Got it.
And in Google Images, I want you to type in. What's the best way to search for this? Okay. Type in SP500 sector performance quilt.
SP500 sector performance quilt.
QUILT.
All right.
So click on the first image and
All right. So now
it's got all these stocks by year.
Right.
So what did I tell you to buy in the fall? Remember, utilities and energy. What are the highest performing asset classes in 2006 and 2007, right before the stock market crashed? Lo and behold, utilities and energy. So next we go to winter. So fall is always the shortest season. It lasts less than a year. During the Depression, the fall lasted 3 years, but that's beside the point. So what did I tell you to buy in the winter? Healthcare and consumer staples, which is food. What are the top 2 asset classes in 2008 when the stock market crashed? I'll bet they are what I think they are. I can't see, but I'm gonna guess.
Oh.
So
Still trying to figure out how to read this. There's a bunch of stuff. Okay.
yes, but what does it say in 2008? Top two
Okay.
asset classes.
2008. Cons, staples, healthcare.
Yeah, what I tell you, consumer staples and healthcare. So
Right.
That's 2008 when the stock market crashes. All the shit's flying off the shelves. You got people panicking, trying to get groceries, trying to get medicine. That's what you want. You want to like invest. You want to see the curve coming and invest before the time is right.
Mm-hmm.
So once the year of panic is over, and you get out of the winter, you get into the spring. So what are the top the top stocks for 2009 and 2010? Are they technology and industrials?
Technology and material. Yeah, technology and industrials. That's right.
Okay, material science, that's the same thing as industrials. Whatever.
No. Materials is second place in 2009.
Okay. Well, this is also very short. Like the spring is very short. Like I said, it's a tiny window where you go in and you buy technology companies and you buy. Look how quickly it ends. It's just 2 years. The spring only lasts 2 years, and then it's a very, very long summer where growth is slow. So there's like an exception because like I'd say there's like one exception, and it's in 2016. Look at 2016, and I think the highest asset class you'll see.
Oh, it doesn't even go to 2016. Not this image. It goes to 2014.
Okay. Can you find one with 2016? Maybe like the third image over, second image over.
Oh. No. They all end at 2014.
Damn it.
Oh wait, I found one.
Nice. Okay. So what I'm telling you right now, it's not like I'm not like a Wall Street investor, okay? I'm just like a guy, okay? So there's going to be exceptions in my little theory here. And this one exception, I think it's in 2016, and the highest asset class is energy. So you're like, oh, hey, Alex, didn't you tell me fucking energy was for the fall, not for the summer? Well, I think the reason is because OPEC. So OPEC is like this alliance of like African, Latin American, and Middle Eastern countries, right? And like they form alliances to like manipulate the price of oil. It's very nasty. Mm-hmm. And in 2016, they tried to fuck up the American oil industry by flooding the market with cheap oil. So remember back in 2016 when Trump and Hillary were debating, you know how cheap gas was back then? It was like $1 a gallon, depending on like which state you were in. I think like for Texas, it was like $1, and in California, it was $2.
And now what is it, like $3 a gallon?
Yeah. So the reason was they flooded the market with cheap oil, so that was the time to buy energy, and I think that's why it was number one, if it is number one. Mm-hmm. So like that's straight up market manipulation, but it was a good time to make some money. So yeah, that was just definitely an artificial monopoly. So now we got another problem, right? So how do you predict the stock market? How do you know when there's going to be fall, when there's going to be spring, when there's going to be summer? Because you can't tell the fucking future, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to look for statistical correlations, right?
Right.
So I think I might have figured out one important correlation we could look at. I'm not quite sure, but I think this is the best we got.
Okay.
So the market right now is not crashing from coronavirus. I think it's something else. I think it's something very specific. So last year in March, on my other channel, I predicted, not Transhumania, but my other channel, I predicted that there would be a stock market crash within 1 year of that March. And we're kind of at that point now. And the reason and in that video, the reason I predicted it was I said, look, if you look at the past 8 recessions in American history, 100% of those recessions happened exactly 1 year after the bond yield curve inverted. So if you look at like the bond curve and it inverts short-term bonds versus long-term bonds, mm-hmm. The moment it inverts, you get like between seven months later and 17 months later, you immediately get a recession. So the average between them is 12 months. So I was like, oh, on average of 1 year after the yield curve inversion, there's a crash. So that's why back in March 2019, I predicted, hey, maybe in March 2020, there's going to be a crash. And so thank fuck that I sold all my stocks before this crash happened. Thank fuck. Because
nice.
even my Roth and my 401k, I pulled it all out and switched to bonds. Like, this isn't luck, because like as the Chinese philosopher Confucius used to say, luck is preparation plus opportunity. So it's not, you make your own luck. You really do. You by trying to predict the future, by being a futurist, by being a life extensionist, you know.
Yes.
So I'm not going to buy back in just yet. I think I'm going to wait till we hit winter, and then I'm going to get at those technology stocks, get them on sale.
Right.
I have like a long list of life extension companies I want to invest in, and we'll go over it in another podcast. But I think we've talked enough about the stock market.
Heck
People
yeah.
are probably fucking falling asleep.
Should we address some of the comments and questions in the chat?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Elena says, if the virus is real, how dangerous do you think flying in a plane is? That's good. I heard that you can get the virus through the circulating air in the vents of the plane. It just circulates, and it's much more dangerous if you fly in a plane.
Yeah, you share a lot more of your air with other people.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
I'd say like, and wait till the summer.
F that.
Because some people are saying, some of the scientists are saying that this virus, this corona, it might be seasonal, just like the flu. So not only will corona happen this year, it'll keep happening every year for the rest of human history. It'll just keep coming.
So basically, it integrates itself. It integrates itself. Now it's like gonna be like one of the more common flus every year.
Yeah, the way viruses like this mutate is usually like we get it, and then a lot of us survive, some of us die, and then we give it to like birds, and then it mutates in the birds, and then they give it back to us next year, and that's why you got to get a flu shot every year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, vaccines. Vaccines.
Yeah, let's talk about vaccines. But okay, Elena, I'm just gonna take these in order. So Elena says, I heard there are similarities to coronavirus and false flags. False flags. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you? Maybe clarify your question there. Are you still there?
Flags? Are she talking about like
a false flag? Yeah, when they like
bioengineered viruses.
I think that's I think that's what she's talking about. Okay, she says like Masons like the number 33. So when they stage a false flag, they use the number 33 a lot. So if they say 33 people died or a 33-year-old died, they'd be very suspicious. Oh,
like a bunch of very uncreative feds using the same fucking number.
Right.
And it's too easy for us.
The 33-degree Mason, right? It's part of it.
I don't know. Maybe. You never know.
Okay, so Elena says, "Why are kids not susceptible to the virus? Is their immunity so much better?" Oh, I heard that.
So yes, because kids are they're growing extremely fast. Now, the kids are not the same thing as infants. Infants are vulnerable to this virus, but kids, like people, like maybe 10-year-olds, they're going to be just fucking fine. 20-year-olds. People in my age range, and even like 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, are all going to be fine. They all have the same death rate, which is like 0.2.
Right. Some people were suspicious because this coronavirus is extremely not. It's like really not hurting kids. So they think it was specifically like engineered not to hurt kids and just to really take out the older population. So that China's trying to like wipe out the older people, so they don't have some weird problem with all the old people.
I have a hypothesis.
Okay.
So if we look at the disparity, like 90% of the victims are all in China,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're all old people.
Right.
So what does China do that other countries like Italy, America, and Germany and Sweden don't? They fucking pollute like mad. There's all these. They fuck up your lungs. The Chinese smoke too. They love to smoke. They love to smoke, and they love to breathe in the shitty, whatever that Xi Jinping makes them fucking breathe in. So what this does is this fucks up your lungs over time, and that's why the old people are getting it and the young people are not, because they haven't had time to fuck up their lungs, so they're not weak enough for the virus to kill them. I think that might be an explanation for this pattern.
That makes a lot of sense. So don't smoke, especially if you want to stay safe from the coronavirus. My gosh. Okay, so
next question.
Next question is, our shops are running out of TP and paper towels, and they limit bottled water. Is that happening on the mainland? Yeah. Costco, the Costco, like they're draining the toilet paper, they're draining like all this bleach and all this stuff like this, and it's crazy. I hear Trader Joe's is like a big.
So in SoCal, in Southern California, I think we got like 5 cases here, and the first thing that runs out is fucking medicine. So always have medicine in your house, always.
Right.
I think it's too late now, but
speaking of Trader Joe's, the main founder of Trader Joe's died this year.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That's where I get my peanut butter. I get my peanut butter at Trader Joe's. That's Alex was eating peanut butter. He showed me before the stream. He's eating Laura Scudder's peanut butter.
Yeah. That's the stuff without the palm oil.
Yeah.
The reason I don't like any, like, I hate how they call it vegetable oil.
Here, show it again. Show it again.
Yeah. So vegetable oils is such a bad, like, nasty marketing tactic, because they're saying it's not really from vegetables, it's from beans, like soybeans and like palm oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, cottonseed oil, fucking canola oil is the worst one. Like what these things do is they like increase the inflammation in your body, and it makes it harder to get rid of your fat cells, right? Not like your outer fat cells, but like your visceral fat cells. So the visceral fat cells are the fat cells that surround your organs. Those are the ones you absolutely want to get rid of because that's what's going to kill you with life extension. You don't see it. You don't see it because like you won't be fat from these because these are they're just hugging your organs. They won't show outside of the skin. The fat that's close to your skin, that's the easiest fat to lose. But that's actually what I'm doing right now is I'm doing like ketogenic diet, so I can't eat too much peanut butter. I got to stay within that like 40 carb limit. And most of my stuff's got to come from fats. So essentially, like, you want to hear my plan for like fitness?
Did you know meat? I have to comment on that peanut butter. Do you know that is the exact same brand of peanut butter that is Death's favorite food in the Meet Joe Black? He eats that type of peanut butter, same type. Okay. Laura Scudder's peanut butter, yeah. So just saying that, it's pretty cool.
What was I saying?
I interrupted you.
Losing fat. So
right.
what I want to do is like I want to get down to like 12% body fat, and the way I plan to do that is like ketogenic diet. And like all gym sessions are going to be for the purpose of burning fat. So like cardio and shit. I'm going to be like a cardio bunny, like all the chicks, like all the guys are lifting and I got to go run with the girls on the treadmill and whatnot. But once I get down to like 12% body fat, I think you can tell by like your abs. If you look at your abs right now, I have like a 4-pack. So I think that's like 18%. At 16% or 14%, you have like a 6-pack. And then once you get to 12%, you have like an 8-pack. So that's how you know you're at like 12% body fat is you got like the shredded washboard abs. And then once I get there, I'm gonna do what's called blasting and cruising. So I'm gonna blast trenbolone. It's a steroid, a nasty one, but I'm only gonna use it only once. And then Dianabol is a steroid. It's a nicer steroid. It's not as nasty, but I'm gonna blast on tren, cruise on Dianabol, and then I'm gonna eat like 10,000 calories a day, and I'm gonna get fucking ripped, dude. I'm gonna like I got this shit all planned out. Like the workout schedule. No more fucking cardio, just like powerlifting shit. And hypertrophy training. So
wow, are you sure it's not that? But long term, you're not. That's not your plan.
No.
It's not that healthy to be that shredded, right? You want to have fat to absorb all the toxins and stuff.
Okay, so for biohackers listening, do not do trenbolone long term. It will fuck your shit up. You're gonna have like heart attacks. You're gonna lose your hair.
No, I'm talking about just the amount of fat you want on your body. You want some fat. It's good for you, right? To have absorb some toxins.
What you want in the keto diet is you want coconut oil, avocado oil, you want MCT oil. You want these fats that like make you feel full.
And peanut oil.
They trick your body into burning ketones instead of like disassembling proteins and shit. So we're getting into like bro science territory here with like the bulletproof coffee.
Let's let's go on. Okay, so Elena says, has Elon Musk said anything about the coronavirus? I actually am unaware. Do you know if he said anything about it?
Yeah, I don't think he's commented.
I don't know. Elena says, it rains so much here, I was surprised people were hoping to hog water. I bet. In Hawaii, there's like, it's cool in Hawaii because you can catch the rainwater. There's people like that's what we had. We had big things to catch all the rainwater. You could store it up. Elena says, when Katrina happened, the police confiscated guns. Yes.
Actually, there was one exception. So the police were going door to door confiscating guns during Katrina, but there was one exception. There was one town where all the neighbors got together. Remember the no-go zones? This is important. Mm-hmm. I'm going to talk about people who formed a no-go zone. An entire town got together, and they were like very Republican and shit, very libertarian. They don't want the cops taking their guns. They're like, okay, we're going to have this plan. When the cops come in, we're all going to meet there at once, and we're going to tell them, hey, cops, fuck off. You're not taking our guns. And you know what they did? They left. It's not like the Sand People where they leave and come back in greater numbers. No, they actually fucking left. They're like, nope, we're not fucking with these people.
Nice.
No-go zones work. They work in France with the Muslims and Sweden with the Muslims. They work with the Mormons. They work with fucking everybody as long as you have weapons and you have people. That's all that matters in life is other people. And of course, life itself. Don't fucking die.
There you go.
That is the one exception to what Elena was talking about. So there was one town that didn't lose their guns.
So you got to have no-go zones, but got to have guns to protect.
I feel bad for all the people in Katrina who did lose their guns, because like there was actually a group of people like on a building who were defending their shit from looters. The cops came by and like they had signs like "Don't loot or we shoot," and the cops are like, "Yeah, we don't care. We're just taking your guns." And then they did, and then the looters came and they probably raped a bunch of people too. It's bullshit. you gotta arm yourself. You gotta get a no-go zone. You gotta get people who share your beliefs. That's why I talk about like finding a common culture too, finding like a common religion, so that you're not like atomized.
Yeah, we talked to a Mormon when you were gone at the party, and she was really cool. Was like a founder of one of the Mormon transhumanists.
Was it Blair Ostler?
Yes, yeah, she was awesome. She was like really into like eternal monogamy and stuff like that. The Mormons.
What kind of religious conversations did you guys have?
Oh my gosh, we really got into it, all kinds of things. Basically, I was like very happy that she wasn't all into she wanted to live forever physically. And I think that's one of the things that the Mormon transhumanists have to offer, that it's not just about this like afterlife, but they really want to live forever physically and like cure aging and everything. It's like more.
Yeah, because in the theology, the Heavenly Father and the Heavenly Mother go on to have create their own fractal, like their own fractal of the story, repeat the cycle. So it's not like you can't do that if you're dead. So
Right.
But yeah, we could talk about that for a while. So
let's talk about Mormonism.
I think it's very important. So like I said in our last live stream, people got triggered because I criticized multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is not the same thing as multiracialism. You guys are talking about multiracialism, which is fine. Multiculturalism is what's unstable, because if you got one group of people who are like, no, we're Muslims, another group of people, we're Jews, no, we're Christians, they're gonna fucking kill each other. But if you look at like the Roman Empire, it was stable for like 600 years, and there was tons of different races there, but the Romans said, you're gonna follow Roman law or we fucking kill you. And they did. And lo and behold, you had these like black people, brown people, white people, even Jews. Jews resisted for a while, but eventually they got fucking Christians too. But eventually the empire came apart because of the cultural divisions, not because Rome unified them. So the most important part of like monoculturalism is like having the same religion. So when you go find your no-go zone, you're going to want to like kind of create a common theology that can unite your religions, right? So let's get into this hypothetical God, right? So we need to develop like one overarching narrative that transcends all current religions, and that's harder than it sounds. So what I want to create here on this channel, in this community, is the opposite of a schism. So a schism is when a religion splits into two religions because they disagree on one stupid, obscure thing. Mm-hmm. I want the opposite of that. I want to find those like fundamental truths that all religions share, mm-hmm. and that by going way back into history and extracting the common values, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a reason religions have persisted for thousands of years, and because it's one of the few things that keeps us from destroying ourselves, and we've got to find those elements that keep us alive. And to do that, you got to go way back in history, past Islam, past Christianity, even past Judaism.
Would the fear of God be one of these commonalities between all religions, like the kind of God-fearing attitude and do unto others as you would have them do unto you, just generally being a good person and morality? Is that stuff?
I think it permeates all of civilization. I mean, even if you look at transhumanism, its origins are in existentialism and Nietzsche's will to power. And that's like the literal opposite of nihilism. Transhumanism is not like nihilistic. So how do we get people to be religious again? So we got a huge problem in the world right now, and the three biggest religions in the world all fucking hate each other. You know what I'm talking about: Christianity, Islam, and Judaism.
Yeah.
I know some people are gonna be like, Judaism only has 17 million followers. Yeah, I know, but like
I feel like Christianity loves Judaism. I mean, wait, they don't love Judaism. They love Jews. They love Israel.
They love Israel, but like the Nazis really fucking hate the Jews. Just go on like 4chan or go on Facebook and you'll find it, or even on here on YouTube you'll find them. Anyway, I think it's because those 17 million people do hold a lot of power. I think like 40% are Jewish, so that does deserve recognition as like a major financial influence. Like these people are going to help their own in-group. So Judaism is a major world religion, whether you like it or not. So these are the three major religions. I know there's also Hinduism, but they're less. They don't have as much of a history between Christians and Hindus killing each other as there is between Christians and Muslims and Jews killing each other. But anyway, a lot of people think Judaism was the world's first monotheistic religion, and that Moses was the first like monotheistic theologian, and he wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, and that dates back to 1300 BC, so 3,300 years ago. There's like no doubt in anyone's mind that was the first monotheistic religion, but I think that's bullshit. they got their inspiration from somewhere. People tend to just go with the flow and agree that monotheism started in Judaism, but you got to look at Egypt. What was happening in Egypt that made them monotheistic? Because there was monotheism, like there's evidence of monotheism before Judaism. It didn't appear in a vacuum. They got it from somewhere, and we got to go track those values down. So let's start with the oldest religion in the world and kind of like backtrack down this rabbit hole, and then we'll rebuild the religion of the hypothetical God from scratch and create peace between Judaism, Islam,
I
and
love
Christianity.
that you're calling it the hypothetical God. Look, I love it. Yes.
Look what he made me do. Look what he made me do.
Yes. Dude, when I come out with a shirt that says "Fear the hypothetical God," you have to wear it.
Okay, I'll wear it.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with like what doesn't count as a monotheistic religion. Let's like the Indians, for example, the Great Spirit. I think the Sioux people, the Sioux Indians called it Wakantanka, the Great Spirit. That's not monotheism. That's pantheism, because the Great Spirit is like everything. Everything is the Great Spirit. So that's not really monotheism. Monotheism is when you have like the Creator God who's actively involved in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you can have monotheism, pantheism, and avatars all at once. For example, Christianity, like a great example of that is the Trinity, where you got Christ, who's the avatar, like the video game character, who then God, Yahweh, the monotheistic God, he's the video game player, he's the gamer. And then you got the pantheistic God, which is the Holy Spirit, which is everything. So like, and all three of those things are the same thing, and that's the Trinity. So you can have that, but that's not what we're talking about. So I think like, why don't we just worship the leader of the gods? Like this question of why don't we, like, all these Greek pantheons and Viking pantheons, they have so many gods, but there were some people who were like, why don't we just worship like the leader of all gods? Why don't we just worship Odin, or why don't we worship Zeus? I think that might be how monotheism first evolved, right? So when we look at history, the first monotheistic religion is actually not Judaism. It's actually called Atenism. And do you know where it started? Egypt.
Oh.
So it goes back to this religion, Atenism. It lasted only 20 years, just 20 years, and it was started by a pharaoh named Akhenaten. Let me spell it for you so I could pull it up on Google Images.
Okay.
I think it's Akhenaten. Aten. Akhenaten.
Oh, I found it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy was Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun's probably the most famous pharaoh. This guy was his father.
Okay.
And his illegitimate grandson was Ramses. So it goes Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, and then Ramses. So I think the reason he's more important, like I think Akhenaten is the most important, because he created this religion where he banned the worship of all polytheistic gods except for the one god, Aten. So if you wanted to worship like the fucking crocodile god or the fucking snake head god in Egypt, that was fucking banned. You'd get like arrested or whatever. So some people are saying like this Aten was just the sun and this was just pagan sun worship. But if you look at like Egyptologists, that's not the case. Like in Atenism is not literally the sun. Aten is the creator of the sun, and the sun is a manifestation of him. It's symbology, not literalism. It's like it's the visible link between God and the physical world, which is like technically true because like the sun creates all life in the solar system or whatever. But this time it was different. So the pharaoh said, this pharaoh Akhenaten, he ruled with like an iron fist and crushed all these other religions. And the reason we know it's not sun worship is because the sun god, his name is Ra. I don't know if you remember the movie like The Prince of Egypt, by the power of Ra. You ever seen that movie? I don't know. But there was a sun god, and that's not what Aten was. Aten was the god of gods. So all these other gods were banned. But once Akhenaten died, the Egyptian aristocracy quickly went in and undid all of his reforms. So no more monotheism. We're back to being polytheistic. Now here's where it gets interesting. So Akhenaten ruled in 1350 BC. What time did Moses live? 1300 BC. So 50 years after. And what's really interesting is like 2-3 generations before all these biblical historians say that Moses existed. I don't know if he actually existed, but it's 50 years before they say he existed. So there's this idea floating around that the Jews, may have gotten ideas from Atenism, and there's this kind of connection between Atenism and Judaism. And there's some evidence for that. So there's one cool artifact. It's a tablet. It's a tablet called the Great Hymn of Akhenaten. And there's a Christian theologian. His name is C.S. Lewis. Yes, he's the same guy who wrote Narnia, right? So
right.
Narnia, but he was also like a really respected Christian theologian. And he wrote a book about the hymn of Akhenaten and said, holy shit, this hymn is exactly like the book of Psalms in the Bible. Like there's the Psalm 104, if you look it up, there's this thing called the Amarna correspondence. And it's like the link between the Psalms and the hymns of Akhenaten. So this work Moses had might have been, because Moses was credited as the author of the Bible, it might have been, some of it might have been stolen from Atenism. So then there's here's another difference. Like Sigmund Freud, like the psychologist, he was actually a Jew, and he was really curious about like where Judaism came from. So he researched Atenism, and he wrote a book called Moses and Monotheism. And in it, he says he found evidence that like Moses was an Atenist priest who was exiled by the following pharaohs, and he led the monotheistic people out of Egypt. So the Jews weren't Jews; they were just Egyptians who believed in monotheism. And the polytheistic government said, "Get the fuck out." And this priest who led them was baby Moses. So that's Freud's theory.
Wow. There's something interesting about the Jewish religion that I love, and it's that they don't believe in the afterlife. Have you heard this? Like Jews like believe in like they don't believe in the afterlife. And I think that's why that's why that religion, Judaism, is particularly suited to like transhumanism, and maybe it's why you see all these like Jews, these famous like Jews and these elite Jews, they want to like live forever physically because they're scared of death. I think there's a fear of death connection between Judaism. Like they're afraid of all the religious people. Those people are most fear of death, I think.
So there is an afterlife in Judaism. It's just called Sheol, but that's not heaven or hell. It's just another world you go to when you're dead. So maybe they had kind of a version of the simulation hypothesis where you wake up in another simulation if you did well in the past simulation. We don't know that much because But the same with Atenism. There was no afterlife in Atenism. And here's some commonalities. So Akhenaten theorized that Aten would have a son, like a savior, like a messiah who would lead the Egyptian people. And that sounds kind of like the Jesus story, you know? Like I don't think that the Jews just pulled this religion out of their ass. I think they were inspired to make it by some other religions. And spoiler alert, the name Atenism, guess what the linguistic root is? Atenism came from a Middle Eastern religion known as Adonism, because a few generations before Akhenaten, there was another religion in Syria where the people worshipped a god called Adon, A-D-O-N, and it's similar to Aten, and Adon translates to the Lord. So if you've ever read the Bible, I don't know if you have, but the Bible always refers to as God, not as God, but it keeps calling him the Lord. I think that's funny. So maybe these biblical characters, Abraham, Isaac, and Joseph, the people who lived before Moses,
one of my, this is the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Yeah. Right. I think they might have been Adonists in Syria, and they were worshiping this monotheistic God, but there was not that many followers of it. So, if you look at the word Adon, it comes from Adonai, which is the Phoenician word for Lord, but in the Greek Phoenician, it's the root Adonis, which is a Greek god of beauty. So there is like they had some like Lebanese. The Lebanese were Greeks at the time. There was some influence there. So now we get to the evidence. So there's this famous Egyptologist by the name of Arthur Weigall. I think it's Arthur Weigall, and he figured out like, oh shit, Aten, it has this root with Adon. And then there was this other Egyptologist, Amen Osman. So he's an Egyptian guy, Amen Osman, and he argued that Akhenaten and Moses were actually the same person. This is crazy. We're gonna get to some crazy shit here. So, because they were like so historically close together, what happened was after the monarchy, maybe Akhenaten he didn't die, but was overthrown, and what Osman gathered evidence for this argument, like the biblical character Joseph, right?
Mm-hmm.
Joseph
and the coat of many colors, right?
Yeah. Joseph, that's the guy. Mm-hmm. So he might have been the father-in-law of a pharaoh named Amenhotep III. So Amenhotep was the grandfather of Akhenaten. So Akhenaten might have discovered this family secret and created the religion of Aten from this monotheism, from Adon, the Adonism.
Wow.
So Thing about Joseph though, he was called by the Egyptians. He was called Yuya, like Y-U-Y-A, I think, something like that. Yuya, and he was he was not of royal blood. He became an Egyptian aristocrat, and he married into the family. So Akhenaten wasn't literal. Like there's some like conspiracy theories floating around that he wasn't pure Egyptian. He might have been part Syrian, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So Akhenaten's grandson, Osman argues, might have been Moses, and Moses might have been like a pharaoh, an illegitimate pharaoh.
Okay.
And he might have taken the religion out of Egypt because the Egyptian aristocracy was disgusted by it. So, I don't know, perhaps Moses was not a prince of Egypt, but rather a king of Egypt. And the book of Genesis and Exodus was just stolen from another culture. And it was not stolen, but it was just maybe Judaism. It was just their way of telling the story. It wasn't stolen. It was just the same story told by a different language, you know?
Right.
So I think if we trace back, we can find like the first elements of monotheism. And what we can do here is we can say, we can go even further back. And there's actually this religion called Zoroastrianism. You ever heard of it?
I have. I don't know much about it, but I have heard about it.
So do you know where Kurdistan is? Kurdistan is between Syria and Iran and Turkey. Like that. There's a lot of talk about like ISIS and shit. That's like the land north of ISIS. That's where Zarathustra.
Isn't that where
the prophet
Borat, the character Borat comes from?
No. Borat comes from like Kazakhstan. That's
right.
Russia. So
okay.
Kurdistan is the land of Zoroaster, the prophet Zarathustra, and this was actually the first monotheistic religion. So here's the thing about Zoroastrianism. So Zoroastrianism wasn't practiced as a religion, like it wasn't an official government religion until like the seventh century. So that the Persian Empire made that their religion. But the actual prophet Zarathustra, he was said to have existed 3,500 years ago. So in like 1500 BC. So like 100 years before Adonism, before Joseph, before Aten. So maybe this was the first monotheistic religion. And from Zoroastrianism, we get the other three religions: Judaism, Christianity, Islam. But it's not just from here, because Zoroastrianism, you know, when the Persians invaded Judea, they took the Jews were trapped in Babylon, like they were captives of the Babylonians, and the Persians came in there and freed them. But what if the Persians, as like a part of their authoritarian government, had to rewrite the Jewish religion to suit Zoroastrianism? Isn't that interesting? So Zoroastrianism might have again influenced Judaism, and there's also influence on like Christianity and Islam as well. Because when the Muslims invaded Iran, they invaded Persia, the part of the way they assimilated was by the Muslims allowing Persians to put elements of Zoroastrianism into Islam, which would later become like the Shiite Islam. So we have this common root of like this hypothetical God, and I think we need to go back and find it. So if we can bring out our commonalities rather than our differences, I think we'll stop killing each other as much as we do today. And Zoroastrianism, like this God is very interesting. So it's a monotheistic God. His name is Ahura Mazda, and there's actually a devil. This is the first time the devil appears in history, and his name is Ahriman. So Ahura Mazda is the God, and Ahriman is the devil, but it's not described that way. The way it's described is Ahriman is the creative force, Ahura Mazda is the creative force, and Ahriman is the destructive force. So it's kind of described in terms of like entropy and extropy. You know, that's where I go on.
Oh, that's where you got those ideas from.
So I was thinking, what if entropy is the devil and extropy is God? Maybe they are forces, because Zoroastrianism speaks of them as forces, not as. He does speak of them as sentient, though. Ahura Mazda is sentient, but this is just the manifestation of his sentience. So, you know, the company, like, there's a car company named Mazda. I think it's really so horrible that the name of Ahura Mazda, like the father of all three of our religions, is now like just so commoditized by capital that it's a fucking car look how far they've fallen. Right. But like also like Nietzsche, like the father of transhumanism, the book where he describes the Overman, the post-human, is called Thus Spoke Zarathustra, and he bases transhumanism on Zarathustra's philosophy as well. Not the religion, but like the way of thinking. Because in Zoroastrianism, it's a little bit different. So the hypothetical God, he kind of creates civilization and then lets you run with it. Like, it's up to you to decide the future. I'm not going to interfere. I'm not going to like wait at the end of history and kill everyone. I'm actually going to just like let you continue and spread out across the universe.
Right.
So it's kind of like a Promethean in the sense that they're giving humanity the keys to go create their own destiny. Whereas in some of these other religions, there's like an apocalyptic revelations, and then everybody dies, and there's four horses and whatnot. Zoroastrianism was different in the sense that it's up to us to make the world a better place.
That sounds very similar to the Mormon transhumanists, what they think. It's kind of like
maybe Mormonism might have also had some Zoroastrian influence, because I don't know if Joseph Smith was a very smart guy, and he might have maybe read a book on it. Who knows?
Right.
I don't know.
Now, I have no personal issues with just saying that God and the devil are like forces, except for as long as you also say, well, that there's, because if they're just forces, I like the idea of I like the idea of a God that's like can judge you and that is watching you and will judge your behaviors, you know.
In Zoroastrianism, they are sentient and they do judge. It's just that these forces are the manifestation of the changes they make in the world.
Okay.
So I'm not sure.
So it's like both.
It's a very mysterious religion,
right?
Because the Islam used to like suppress it hard, and like it used to have like 17 million followers back in the Persian Empire, but I think today there's only like 1 million followers. Like very few people follow this religion.
Right. Like to me, like one of the biggest points, the whole point of there being a hypothetical God is that it creates a karmic system where there's punishments and rewards for behavior, you know, for good and bad behavior. So as long as you hold that part of it, that seems to be what's important about the idea of a God.
Have you ever heard of Mithraism? So Mithraism is Mithra is the Persian version of Jesus Christ. So it's like a mutation of Zoroastrianism. Oh. And like, you ever seen the movie Zeitgeist?
Yeah.
It's bullshit. They say like Jesus was stolen from religions, but I don't think that's true. I think there was some influence, but it wasn't. Mithra and Jesus weren't the same god. So here's what I think happened. So the Roman Empire at this time that Mithraism existed was at war with Persia. So what do you do when you're at war with another country? You don't want your religion, like the people in your territory, to adopt their religion, or they're gonna fucking overthrow you. So I think instead of suppressing Christianity, Constantine, the first Christian emperor of Rome, said, okay, you know what? All these Mithraists, we're just gonna like kind of usher them into Christianity, and we'll make Christianity the state religion of the Roman Empire. So now we got Christianity versus Mithraism. But in doing so, they adopted some elements of Zoroastrianism. So you see Zoroastrianism influencing Judaism. You see it twice it influenced Judaism with the Persian invasion and with Zoroaster. That it influences Islam when the Muslims invaded, and it's also influencing Christianity. So what if we could go find like the common ethics and kind of rediscover it, find out what we have in common instead of why we're different.
That'd be a very valuable pursuit. All right, do you want to look at the?
Let's do some comments.
You can go. You do it this time. You go read some.
Okay, let me open the stream. I don't have the stream open. I can't see what's on the screen.
Okay.
How many people are watching?
Let's see here. It says that 5. Yeah! 5 viewers.
We love you, 5 people.
We love you.
This
Thank
podcast
you.
will grow. We just need to come up with more interesting ideas, and then it'll grow.
Right.
So, Eternal Life Fan. Yeah, let's answer some questions. Oh shit. Okay. YouTube account 159 says, "Do you guys think capitalism will end in half this century?" What do you mean by? Okay, so I think what he's trying to say is, will capitalism end by the middle of the century?
I don't think so.
So here's the thing. There was a philosopher by the name of Deleuze, and he had this theory of deterritorialization, right? So the way he contrasted it with Marx. So Marx said, oh, first there's primitivism, then there's tribalism, then there's feudalism, then there's capitalism, and then socialism will be next. Deleuze said it's not quite like that. What happens is you have capitalism, which gets deterritorialized. So like maybe a revolutionary technology like the internet comes along, and it deterritorializes capital. But then capital reterritorializes into like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, so the corporations come back. But but in the process, we the people gain some power. Like we have the power to fucking not use Facebook if we don't want to. We have the power to go create our own YouTube, like BitChute, if we want to. We don't. that's an example of like reterritorialization. So again, there'll be another deterritorialization, and what I think it'll be is UBI. So capitalism won't end; it'll just mutate, and then there'll be a reterritorialization, maybe by like I don't know, the capitalists having like private drone armies that keep the people in line, but at least they get fucking basic income or whatever. So I don't think it'll just end, because this is Deleuze. He inspired this other philosopher by the name of Nick Land. So Nick Land was the father of accelerationism, and he did believe that it would just end. Like we would keep deterritorializing and reterritorializing, but if you purposely, like Land said, we should purposely like support capitalism, just make it as dystopian as possible, as cyberpunk and like brutal as possible, and it'll make people it'll push people to that breaking point where they'll just say fuck it and overthrow the system. Like you've seen Elysium, right?
Yes.
I think Elysium is a very accelerationist movie, and in that this is left accelerationism, by the way. Right accelerationism is something different, but in this sense, there are people who believe capitalism will just end like it did in Elysium by making the working class suffer so much, like make the society so dystopian that they just overthrow the system. I'm not sure if that's how it'll happen, but I am an accelerationist. I'm an unconditional accelerationist, so I don't know how it'll end, but I do support us getting to the next cycle of deterritorialization and reterritorialization, and I think we should do that as fast as possible, because I think like it's really technology, like material, like according to Marx, like material forces drive change, not Hegelian idealism, where Hegel thought ideas drive change. Like the great men of history have an idea, and that creates a new society. Marx said it's technology that creates new societies.
That was one of the reasons why I voted for Trump. I thought he would like push capitalism full steam ahead, and that would drive technology, that would drive advancements in science and technology, and help us live forever.
I mean, if you look at the stock market, pull up the Dow, DOW. If you look at that graph, Trump did fulfill his promise. Well, it wasn't a promise, but the reason people voted for him was to accelerate the contradictions of capital, was to perhaps the flows are not deterritorialized enough and whatever. And that's why people supported him on the left. A lot of people on the, like Slavoj Žižek, instead of supporting Hillary, he supported Trump, despite being a literal communist. So he did fulfill that expectation of skyrocketing the stock market, and maybe now we're going to see the crash where the contradictions in the system arise and a new system will come out, will reemerge. So I hope that answers your question. YouTube account 159. Next question. Zoroastrianism, very interesting. Elena says, the Ark of Covenant seems like it's something that may have been stolen from Egypt. Yeah, right? Like, I mean, if you look at the art of the Israelis, it resembles both the Egyptians and the Persians, because those were the two biggest cultures that had the biggest influence on the Jews, because they were apparently under slavery by the Egyptians. I don't believe that. I think they were paid laborers by the Egyptians, and they were just Egyptians who became monotheists. I don't think there's a genetic essence of Judaism. I think they were just people who were monotheistic. That's just my opinion. But then the Persians were also a huge influence, because when the Babylonians they enslaved the Jews and took them all to Babylon, it was Cyrus the Great, the Persian emperor, who liberated them, and he was like a hero of the people. But as a trade-off, he injected Zoroastrianism into the Jewish religion. So you're stuck with Zoroastrianism, whether you're a Christian, a Jew, or a Muslim. It's somewhere in your religion. You'll find undigested elements of Zoroastrianism. Next question. Rowan, this is for you. Isn't there a Joaquin Phoenix movie called The Joker? Did you see it? Was it good?
I saw it. We both saw it, right?
Very class-conscious movie. If you're on the left, you'll like it.
I really liked it, and I'm not even on the left. I just freaking I'm super conservative, but I loved it because
I liked it because I was a gamer, and we gamers need to rise up.
Right. I just loved the acting, and I thought it was awesome. I mean, I don't condone of the Joker at all. I don't think the Joker... I think they really humanized the Joker this time, and I think that's a little dangerous to humanize him and make him so likable. I feel like... Don't you think he was very likable this time?
Yeah. He was more relatable, in the sense that if you have like if you're like kind of autistic like me, I could relate to him a lot, because it seems like most of his troubles came from like his mind, not from his like his personality. Like, he was a nice person. He was just not capable of properly interacting in social situations, and that's why society abandoned him and treated him like trash, you know.
Right, and I thought,
but don't worry, they got what they fucking deserved. So.
I love that they made him like this incel guy, but then he, in his mind, he was like having his relationship and having his
the black chick.
Yeah. I love that part.
Next question. Elena says, "I love you guys too. Have either of you heard of the group of people who want eternal life so bad they tell themselves they've already achieved it? I think they're delusional." Yeah, I don't know about these people, but I think they might be the quantum immortality people. So you know how I was talking about that multiverse meditation in the last podcast?
What people? I wonder what people she's referring to, because that almost, in some sense, it sounds like it almost sounds like People's Unlimited. You know what I mean? Because they say, like, I'm already, like, living forever. It's already here. You know, you hear them say that language. Like, I already have eternal life. It's not something I'm working for. I have it. It's mine.
That's a dangerous mindset, but there are exceptions.
Right.
If you are on your deathbed and you've got, like, 1 hour left to live and you're just suffering like all hell, but you're going to die anyway, I'd say go ahead and believe in quantum immortality. Believe that every particle in you, the superposition decays into both states, not either or, into both. That means there's infinite many copies of you in the multiverse doing the same thing you're doing right now, and at least one of those infinite copies has achieved eternal life. So if that makes you happy on your deathbed, I'd say sure, go ahead and believe in quantum immortality.
This is also his sleep meditation. This is what he tells himself so he can relax before he sleeps.
So even if you don't believe in quantum immortality, you can pretend to believe in it for meditation, which is what I do. But I mean,
hey, you know what? You're not the only one who pretends to believe in things for relaxation's sake. I was watching a Dave Asprey interview, and he says he pretends to believe in reincarnation just because it gives him like comfort and stuff. It gives him like peace of mind, and so
there is actually a theory that reincarnation is technically true. So if you take your brain and you look at how many connections there are, I think it's something like 10 to the power of 32 connections, 10 to the power of 32 flops is the amount of computing power you need for your brain, and the amount of connections is 100 trillion connections. So if you calculate the amount of particles in the universe, and then you you plot that with the amount of time we have, which is 10 to the power of 88 years till the universe dies, there's this people who have this theory called the Boltzmann brain. So the Boltzmann brain is the theory that just by random chance, these 100 trillion connections will rematerialize somewhere between now and 10 to the power of 88 billion years in the future. They'll rematerialize, and another copy of you will inevitably exist. So like that is literally, the Boltzmann brain is literally reincarnation. You have particles of you that died, and then one day, trillions of years in the future, there will be another person on some other planet born with the exact same brain configuration you have right now.
Gives me zero comfort, because it's just a copy of me. It's not me. It's just a clone in the future. It has nothing to do with me. It's crazy.
I didn't know Dave Asprey was a Boltzmann brain enthusiast, but now I know.
Right.
So, Elena says, "Do you guys think it's better to be a Republican? Do you think Republicans are more Christian than being Democrats?" I disagree. Both are godless, infidel parties that worship only money. Trust me. Believe me, folks. Believe me. I mean, just like, do you think Trump is like actually a Christian? Here's how you tell. Like when Trump was talking about the Bible, he's like, "The Bible is my favorite book."
Wait, you broke up. You gotta do your...
laminate so many Bibles. They call me the Bible laminating machine. Believe me, folks. I laminate so many Bibles. Anyway, my favorite Bible verse is Corinthians 2, chapter 13. So here's where you fucking catch them, because Christians don't say Corinthians 2; they say 2 Corinthians. He just doesn't talk like a Christian does. So, but Christians still vote for him because he's closer, like ideologically, to their traditional culture than he is to the Democrats. So a lot of people will maybe tell themselves that Trump is a Christian to sort of convince that, like give them the willpower to move forward. I don't know. You can do what you want, but I don't think Republicans as a party have some kind of Christian essence. I think
Do you think Trump is an atheist? Do you think Trump's an atheist?
I think the Republican Party as a structure bows to no god. It bows to money. Money is the only god of both the Republican and Democrat parties.
Do you think Trump's an atheist though?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, come on, look at him. He's a New Yorker who grew up associating with all these like cutthroat capitalists. You don't advance in that society by being a God-loving Christian. If you've read Machiavelli's book, Machiavelli, he gets misinterpreted as this evil fucking scheming, like conniving person, but he's not. He's just saying, look, if you want to win, if you want to be practical at politics, you have to be a dick. You have to strategically be a dick. And if you are not a dick, you will die. And in his book, The Prince, he gives examples of politicians, Italian politicians, who are like, I'm going to be so moral, I'm going to be a good, upstanding Christian, and they always fucking lose. You have to be a dick. It's a part of the job qualification as a politician. So, if you want to know why I'm an anarchist, it's because the state necessitates leaders who are dicks. If you read Machiavelli, will turn you into a fucking anarchist if you just look at the way politics works and why it's not sustainable. You got to find a way for people to govern themselves. And
why does Trump seem like Trump seems like such a good person though? Why don't you think Trump's good?
Okay, no, I mean like by being a dick, I mean like you use tactics that would violate your moral principles once in a while. So you have to like once in a while he has to be mean to people to advance his agenda. Even though like Christians say you should treat other people like as if they were you would do unto others as you would want done unto you. Trump definitely doesn't do that, but he has to because Trump has to be.
Right, so he's seeing the greater good. He's doing what he's doing because he thinks it's the greater good, right? So
the tactic that helped him win. Like I love how he gives people nicknames, and that's a very like Trump is a master of marketing. He knows how to market himself as good and market his opponents as bad, and he's very tactical at doing that. For example, the nicknames. He says Lion Ted, Little Mikey, Little Rubio, Crooked Hillary, Crazy Bernie.
I love MS-13 lover Nancy Pelosi.
Remember when Hillary tried to do the same thing too? He was like, Donald Trump is always calling me Crooked Hillary. You know what? I'm going to give him a nickname too. His nickname will be Over Presumptuous Donald. That's fucking bullshit. The average like working class person doesn't know what over presumptuous means. Like Trump knows how to talk to the working class. He knows how to speak to their hearts. He knows how to speak their language, even though he's a billionaire. He knows that Lion Ted is way better than sometimes provides inaccurate information Ted. So he like people say he speaks at a third grade level and he's stupid. I don't think he's stupid. This guy went to an Ivy League school and he took communications courses and he knows how to mold his speech to match that of the audience. So no, I don't think Trump is stupid, but I think he probably read Machiavelli's The Prince as well, because that's why he's doing so well. You cannot be a good person and be a politician. It's impossible. And Machiavelli proved it.
Right. And
you have you can be kind of a good person, but you'll have to be a dick occasionally.
Right. I mean, that doesn't mean he's not a good person if he's, whatever, mean to people. I mean, that's not how I define a good person or not. You could be a little mean, and that doesn't mean you're not a good person, right?
Well, what makes a person good?
Your actions, like helping people, versus hurting them. Like if he's doing things for the greater good, like trying to actually help the most amount of people, trying to like help us live.
I see.
So like he's trying to help us live forever. If he's like trying to be like Schindler, saving lives, I think Trump is trying to save lives.
I recognize that philosophy. Have you ever heard of John Stuart Mill? He developed this idea called utilitarianism, and that's what you just described. So let's say we have a person who does a lot of bad things, but let's say the amount of good things they do so far outweighs those bad things. Like the consequence of those actions is so good for humanity.
I'm not even sure that Trump does a lot of bad things. Even I wouldn't even say that. I mean, let's give an example here. What bad things has he done?
Well, okay, let's just say what I'm trying to say is, can a person if a person were to do a bad thing, then through utilitarianism, could the amount of good things they do make up for the bad things they do? That's like a philosophical question I've always been curious about.
Right. Like with Trump, like I don't think, for instance, he's ever like murdered anyone. I don't get that idea. Like he's not like Hillary Clinton. I don't think he's murdered people. Now, unless you want to say
there's a Soleimani, the Iranian general Soleimani, but he was a military general, so I don't know. Are you allowed to murder soldiers?
Oh yes, there's different rules with that, I guess. In war.
Yeah, morality gets really complicated.
It does. It gets very complicated.
We could probably do a whole podcast on what makes a person good or bad.
Yeah.
Interesting topic.
But I also like what he said when he's like, he was asked the question if he like prays for forgiveness, if he prays to God for forgiveness, and he's like, I just don't try not to make mistakes. Like I don't pray for forgiveness because I just don't make mistakes. And he was like, he was being really sincere.
Folks, I've never made a mistake in my entire life. Okay, look at that. I'm Teflon Dan. Nothing sticks.
I feel like he was being really sincere though. He was like Really, like he's not like these Christians who go around sinning and everything and thinking, oh, they're just going to pray for some forgiveness. He was just like, no, I just like, I care so much about being a good person that I try not to make the mistakes in the first place that I wouldn't need to ask for forgiveness.
So I will say this. I think the way the media attacks Donald Trump sometimes goes overboard and like try to make him they try to exaggerate his actions. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes like they'll try to make him seem eviler than he really is when he's probably just more of an opportunist. For example, like when Trump lies, like sometimes it's like a friendly lie. Like, you know, he's bullshitting and he's telling it as a joke, and then CNN will be like, Trump lied about blah, blah. Well, yeah, the people know he's fucking lying. It's a joke. Like when Trump goes on stage and he says, guys, you gotta believe me. I was born in the best hospitals, had the best doctors. When I came out of my mother's womb, they said, the doctor shook my hand and he said, Donald, welcome to our hospital. It's an honor to have you in our hospital. They know he's fucking bullshitting, right? So.
Now, there is one bad thing he may have done. I haven't researched enough. I mean, this may be totally justified, but when they say he pulled our troops out of a certain place and then got some of our allies killed because he pulled our troops away, you know what I'm referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. That might have been a bad move. What do you think?
I'm anarchist, so I fully oppose all military invention. I think pulling troops out of the Middle East is a good thing. So
even if it gets our allies killed?
Yeah.
All right. Good. Trump did nothing wrong. You heard it here, folks. He did.
I'm very localist rather than forming all these shady alliances with other governments. Right. I think power to the people, power to the workers, the local governments that run shit. Like, you do all the work. I think you should focus more on the local governments should have more power than the federal government. And same with like workplace democracies. Even like in the workplace, the people who work there should have more control. And I think we like blockchain and like venture co-ops can and all these technological advances we're making can make that more practical. Right now it's very utopian, but maybe one day it won't be so utopian. Uh-huh. There's a guy on YouTube, like a professor, his name's Richard Wolff, and he talks a lot about like how we could like practically create a workplace democracy. But it's very complicated. So the next question. Elena says, Elena's very active here. About peanut butter. Rowan, why aren't you worried about the mycotoxins?
Ooh, I'll let you answer that first. What do you think about the mycotoxins?
I always I'll immediately jump on like the skepticism train whenever somebody mentions mycotoxins, because a lot of the time when people try to sell you shit, the selling point will be like, oh, everybody else's product has mycotoxins, but my product doesn't have mycotoxins. I mean, like a lot of plants in nature have mycotoxins. Like fungi are fucking everywhere. So like, I mean, it depends what you mean by mycotoxins.
Yeah.
And like how deadly is the threat? Because I think, who was it who said the dose makes the poison?
Yeah, that's so true. That's my reasoning when it comes to mycotoxins. They say like in peanut butter, it's very strictly monitored. Like they don't just let any amount of mycotoxins. Aflatoxin is the mycotoxin, the main one in peanut butter. And Dr. Rhonda Patrick, she says that there's a potential hormetic effect from the aflatoxin that's actually potentially good for you in a small dose, right? So like the dose makes the poison. It could actually be good for you. I'm not worried about it because it's monitored. They know how much is in the peanut butter.
Next question. Elena says, Trump did the locker room talk. Okay. Salve says, Alex, name one successful anarchist country. Yeah, okay, gladly. Iceland. Iceland was an anarchist for like something like 1,000 years, ever since I think it was Floki and then Eric the Red, and then Eric the Red, who was Leif Erikson's father, settled in Iceland. And Iceland never had a government. They had a bunch of local governments, and they got together in a council and discussed, like if there was any disputes between the localities, they would discuss how to handle that. I think it worked out perfectly fine. Iceland, in the history of Iceland, there was only ever one war, and the war was a tiny war between the pagans and the Christians. And I don't think that has anything to do with politics per se. Again, multiculturalism is not the same thing as multiracialism. When you have two different competing ideologies that want to kill each other, you're going to get war. So when you make your no-go zone, make sure there's no pagans and Christians trying to kill each other in your no-go zone.
Right, just that's a good point. Good point.
Why do you guys think they replaced Mr. Peanut with Baby Peanut? This is your balls in your court. I don't know anything about this.
I think it was just marketing. they thought it was a good marketing move. I think they're trying to capitalize on the whole Baby Yoda thing. I think that's pretty obvious. The whole Baby Yoda was very popular, so they're like, hey, we better make our mascot Baby. And they just thought of a clever way to do it. It was a really cool Super Bowl ad. I did a whole live stream on that. That was fun.
Elena says, yes, People's Unlimited. How do you guys explain kids with memories of past lives? I think it's just their imagination.
Yeah, I'm really skeptical.
It's have a wild imagination.
I'm really skeptical of that. I don't think. I think a lot of cases these kids maybe were trained on what to say. Maybe trained, because you make money off of it. Like if you convince people your kid knows has a past life or whatever, they might make a book deal or something, and make a bunch of money. So, or maybe the kids. I've always thought that maybe they're getting a genetic memory. You think that could be possible? They're getting something from one of their ancestors, and it's being picked up.
Is this like you ever played Assassin's Creed? The entire game series of Assassin's Creed is based on.
I have not played it, but I saw the movie, and it had to do with that.
I think we should talk to a neuroscientist. I think that's very dubious to say that your memories come from your genes. But that's not to say I don't believe your neurons get their essence from the genes that are encoded in them. So I think that's why I think like a lot of like personality traits are genetic because the genes in your neurons matter. Like it's going to govern the way they form synapses. It's going to govern neuroplasticity and long-term potentiation and long-term depression. All these things come from the genes and the way the neurons organize. So, yeah, definitely. I think like if you look at your parents, do you think you're very similar in your personality to your parents?
Yes.
Because like they've done twin studies. They've done twin studies where like one of the twins stayed with the parents and the other twin was maybe like adopted or something because they couldn't afford it. And it's crazy how like the twin turns out to have like the same personality as the one raised by the parents.
Yeah.
Even just brothers, it doesn't have to be twins, but the brothers also resemble their parents' personality. So I think a lot of it is genetic. I think also IQ is genetic, but I don't put that much stake in IQ. Like for instance, my IQ is like 94, so I'm able to like sort of support myself despite being low IQ, I think a lot of it might have to do with time preference. So time preference is the capacity with which you can plan for the future. And I did my 23andMe, so a lot of my ancestors came from Siberia. So I mean, to all the like alt-right people in the comments, I'm actually not European, I'm technically Asian or whatever. But anyway, I think the people who lived in Siberia, where it's very fucking cold, probably had to plan more for the future because they had the change in seasons. There's going to be times in the year when there's no food. So they were probably forced by nature to think about the future more. Right. And despite being low IQ, they have this advantage where they're autistically obsessed with the future, whereas other people might not be as obsessed. I don't know. Talk to a geneticist. I'm not a geneticist.
Right.
It's interesting how the environment shapes your...
I had a theory about IQ I'd want to talk to you about. So like, do you think that in the future when we augment our IQs and we can all kind of...
Well, your volume got really loud all of a sudden.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I hear like a crackle. Maybe like take the knob down just a bit. Yeah.
That's weird.
It was only when you raised your voice, though. It's fine when you talk. When you're talking right now, it's fine. But when you raise the voice, it cracks.
Wow.
What do you think, Elena? Elena's looking at the audio. That's just from my volume.
Huh. Okay. All right, I'll try not to talk too loud. So yeah, I was wondering like when they is it sound okay now?
Yeah, it sounds okay.
Okay, so I was wondering like when they augment our IQs and they like can raise your IQ, do you think that will solve a lot of the world's conflicts when because I feel like right now sometimes people feel jealous of other people's like success and in their intellect success and their intelligence and everything, and maybe they feel jealous of a different race or something. So when
like the Jews, like you're jealous of the Jews?
Well, I'm not jealous of the Jews.
You're not jealous?
I'm fine being second place.
You don't like that 115 IQ, Rowan?
It's tempting, but I'm fine being in my place. I'll take second place in the IQ leveling off, whatever. So, but do you think it can I feel like a lot of the world's conflicts are caused by people having a chip on their shoulder, and once they can feel equal, once more equality, people don't need to be all stressed out that they're not the best or whatever, and then they won't go to war anymore and everything.
I would absolutely agree with that. So for the people in the comments, let me just step in. Let me just play devil's advocate for a second and put on my fucking communist Ushanka hat. Okay, so the left says inequality causes a lot of social ills, and I think that's true to a degree. It's not necessarily wealth. It's if you look at countries that are more equal, there's less crime, there's less poverty, there's there's less crime, there's less prison, there's better test scores in education, there's better happiness, better health, the people live longer. So these countries are like Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, Norway. Despite being like very capitalist countries, the people who live there are relatively equal, and they don't have the same kind of health problems that Americans do. We're fucking richer than Europeans. We're richer than Australians, but we don't live as well as long as they do, and we're not as healthy as they are. So I think the envy, despite what you might say about envy, like, oh, you should focus on yourself, stop comparing yourself to other people. Yeah, but people can't help but compare themselves to other people. They can't help but their happiness depends. Happiness is relative. You compare yourself to others, and you gauge where you are in the social hierarchy based on that comparison. So you ever heard the saying, I'd rather rule in hell than serve in heaven? Yes. It's what a lot of these MGTOW say, that they'll say, I hate living in a first world country where I'm at the bottom of the hierarchy. I'm going to take my American money and go to the Philippines where I'll be at the top of the hierarchy, because when you transfer American money into Filipino money, it's a lot. You have a fortune. So this goes back to like people would rather fucking move from the country that raised them and where all their friends are. They would rather fucking leave just so they could be more equal to others.
Right,
that's how powerful. How powerful this instinct is.
Right, it makes them feel inferior to be around all these other people who have it whatever better.
So yeah, like I'm not total like Stalin, but I do believe inequality does play a role in happiness and life extension and whatnot. And
but
I think
I also feel it's
genetic engineering.
It's also it's important though. I think to build our character that we're okay with ourselves not being the number one. It's okay, like if Jews have a higher IQ or whatever, it's like just accept it. It's like that's okay. Oh, yeah, it's okay, right? Yeah.
It's okay to not be number one. I mean, if you look at black people in this country, I think a lot of the issues in the black community comes with like a deeply ingrained psychological torture they have by constantly being reminded of how richer white people are than they are. And white people aren't like the top 1%. White people are half the country, and black people are only 13% of the population. So like despite like being less in number than the white people, they still have that envy of being at the bottom of the social hierarchy, and it fucks with them in ways that I can't imagine because I'm not black. But right. If I lived in the ghetto, I'd probably be better at imagining. I lived in the trailer park. That's pretty close, right? How bad is a trailer park compared to a ghetto?
Yeah, and it gets even worse because there's not only they're reminded of how much whatever success of white people or whatever, but they're reminded of like the subjugation of their own people and racism all the time, slavery that's put in front of their face in Hollywood. Hollywood is pushing these slavery movies right on them all the time.
They're constantly being reminded of having to compare themselves to others.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes that a lot worse because now they can go online and they can see the successful people and be like, why isn't my life like that? Mm-hmm. That's why you should fucking delete Facebook, everybody. Delete Facebook. It's gonna fuck with your head. It's gonna decrease your life expectancy because you'll be comparing yourself to other people.
Should we delete Instagram? Should we delete Instagram too while we're at it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And Twitter.
I don't even have one.
But you have Twitter.
Yeah, I have a Twitter, but Twitter is for memes. Like, if you go on my Twitter, I don't post anything but memes.
Right.
Maybe like a hot take.
By the way, where do you get those memes? Because those are freaking some pretty complicated, complex memes. That's like memes for like high IQ memes. Where do you get those?
I'm in a group on Facebook. This is called Transhumanistan in all capitals. And we kind of like share memes with each other. Sometimes I make my own, and then I'll just post them to Twitter without posting them anywhere else.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes I'll, how do you say this? Repurpose or seize the memes of production from other people.
Oh yeah. I'm guilty of that too sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I take a meme and I remix it into being about eternal life. It'll have nothing to do with eternal life, and I'll just totally switch it.
It's okay. It's okay because I don't believe in intellectual property. Go
Yes.
ahead and pirate my videos if you want. I'd actually be happy if more people were spreading the message of life extension. So you'd be doing me a favor.
I could just read all the scripts of your videos in my voice and just put.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Just
Oh,
dub
okay.
over it. I'll just dub over it, saying the exact same thing in my voice.
So here's why I don't give a shit about intellectual property. So when you look at death anxiety and terror management theory, this intellectual property, this comes from a desire to create something that will outlast you. Like, oh, I might die, but my work will be immortal. I don't believe in that. I think when you die, you're dead. You lose.
Heck yes.
Good day to you, sir.
And
you lose.
there you are, correct.
So
for sure.
I don't care. I don't care if somebody steals all my videos and takes credit for them. As long as they're spreading the message of life extension, I'll be happy. I mean, all I care about is like me physically living forever. I don't care if my work lives on forever. You could torch all my fucking videos in the apocalypse if you want. I'll just make new ones. It's okay.
Me too. I agree for sure, 100%.
It does kind of suck if like this virus shit gets out of hand and like the internet gets deleted and we lose all our shit. Because hard drives only last like 5 years. You got 5 years to rebuild civilization before they're all dead. That's why I'm saying we should start developing this idea of DNA computing, like DNA storage. Because you could store the entire internet, which is 1 zettabyte. You could store that in a tank of DNA about the size of a bathtub and keep that in a bunker. I think we should start doing that. That's what they did in Asimov. Like Asimov's Foundation series. So Asimov, he's this Jewish. You'll like him because he's Jewish science fiction writer, and he wrote this book called he wrote these series of books called the Foundation series, and it's like a
hey, I don't like all Jews. There is such thing as a bad Jew. I don't like give someone like
shout out to Netanyahu.
I'm sure there's a bad Jew out there.
Oh, there definitely is. Netanyahu is like he's like the only Jewish Holocaust denier that I know of. It's so crazy. He's like his theory of the Holocaust is like Hitler didn't do nothing. Hitler was a good boy. He's a good boy. He didn't do nothing. It was the Muslims who forced Hitler to do the Holocaust. I was like, oh man, that's crazy, dude. Where do you come up with this? But yeah,
wow.
I don't think he's president. I don't think Benjamin Netanyahu is president of Israel anymore because like he was like super corrupt and his son got caught in a scandal and the paper trail led back to him. And then they kicked him out. So whatever, good riddance. But anyway.
Whoa, I didn't. I thought Benjamin Netanyahu is still president. Isn't he like?
I don't know.
He's big. I know he's a big fan of Trump.
I think he's being like impeached or something for like corruption.
Really?
Like stealing tax money or something.
Whoa.
Nasty business. But anyway, so Asimov wrote this book called the Foundation series, and there's an intellectual named Hari Seldon. And he says he's got this theory of psychohistory. So psychohistory is when you take the past, you see the rise and fall of empires, and you try to predict when the next empire is going to collapse. So like there's actually a real person who did this. His name's Oswald Spengler. He's a German philosopher who looked at the Maurya dynasty in India, the Roman Empire, the Egyptian dynasties, the Han dynasty in China, the Warring States period in China. He looked at all these different empires and how they rose and fall, and he found out how to predict the rise and fall of civilizations and what to watch for, like the kinds of behavior among the people to watch for before the civilization collapses. And he even came up with like a timeline. It's something like, I don't know, it's like 8 generations before an empire rises and falls on average or something. I don't know. But anyway, Asimov wrote a book about this, and Hari Seldon says, hey, Emperor of the universe, God Emperor of mankind, we need to back up the data of the empire because I think it's going to collapse. And so they're like, okay, whatever, you're retarded, but just to be sure, we'll give you a planet called Terminus. And it's like this very remote planet. But he takes all the technology there. And what they don't know is that he uses that planet like to be technologically superior. He builds it to be technologically superior to everybody else. And then they use that planet as the new epicenter of the new empire. So when the empire collapses, they were already preparing to rebuild the next one. And I think we should do something like that. We should create a no-go zone. We can call it Terminus if you want. It's a cool name. Mm-hmm. But we back up all the data from the internet. We back up all of them. We take everything that we need, all the technology we need to build another civilization. We fucking build this bunker in Idaho, and then we restart that as the new epicenter of the what will be reborn after America collapses. Because I think it will collapse. It's you can tell that America has no longer has control of its own democracy. Like people from Mexico can just come in and turn Texas blue, and there's jack shit they can do about it. That's the sign of an empire that can't do anything about its own existence. If people want to change it,
maybe America's only allowing that because they know they control the vote anyways. It's all rigged, so they don't care.
You think the election's rigged?
I mean, I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing. Like, maybe they don't care. Because...
Here's a confession. I thought Hillary was going to win in 2016. I was already preparing for the gun grabs, for the fucking FEMA camps and shit.
Wow.
And then Trump, out of nowhere, I was like, this is proof our system's not fucking rigged. There is no way the global neoliberal elites would allow a nationalist to become president. No way. And somehow it happened. So I don't think it's rigged. I honestly don't think so. Same with like Bernie Sanders. Do you think Bernie Sanders would have gotten this far if the system really was rigged? He's almost tied with Joe Biden. That's pretty astounding for somebody who like literally calls himself a socialist.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't
questions?
I don't think it's rigged. I mean, I'm kind of open to the possibility of it, but I don't know.
You want to do some of the questions?
Or
you want me to take some?
You keep on going.
Okay. Let's see. So Elena says, Rowan, I saw your videos about eternal love. I love that you guys are looking for eternal monogamy. So many other guys just want to hop from woman to woman. Yeah, I agree. It's called the male hypergamy instinct. Just as women have an instinct to monkey branch between men of different status, men have an instinct.
Your video went away.
Oh, did it? Men have an instinct to monkey branch between like different attractiveness levels of women. But I think it's possible to overcome that if you look at like because some men, like the women they're with, like let's say a guy marries a woman when she's like 25, right? Like peak fertility window or whatever. And then later she gets old and she's like 40. Some of the guys will still stay with her because they have the continuity of the fact that she was once young and hot, and that's good enough for them. Like, you were once this person and I've grown attached to you. I think that's one way you can escape the male hypergamy instinct. But another way you could do it is to just use neurotechnology and kind of edit it out. Like, I think the hypothalamus, which controls the pituitary gland, which controls like the hormonal profile, that's what makes us want to cheat a lot of the time. You just like want to fuck something because of your endocrine profile. Mm-hmm. If you can fix the hypothalamus to like fuck with that, maybe you won't have the hypergamy instinct.
That's one solution. Or we can just
or genetic
engineering. I like your idea. I think you mentioned this before. We can augmented reality. So when we're with the person, whatever, they look super young. Or look, we can just make them young. We could just cure aging, and we could just make them look super young again, right?
Dude, there's a sci-fi movie on YouTube, like a short sci-fi film, like an indie sci-fi film that was really well made, and it was exactly about what you just said. It was like there's like this really old couple, and they're really fucking ugly, but they project like hot people, like they project their themselves when they were younger onto each other, so it looks like they haven't aged a day.
I think that's the future. I already saw like a Instagram filter where it smooths out your skin and like. What? It looks so good. The technology is already getting there. Imagine what it's going to be in like 20 years. We're going to be able to like augment reality, and it looks like I can make, I could augment reality and make it look like everyone is probably like anything I want them to look like. It can make it look like there's probably be an augmented reality filter in the future where it makes every person, it randomly selects a person and makes them all look like different celebrities, like all your favorite celebrities. Imagine that. Or your favorite movie characters. I'll be walking around just like, I walk down someone that looks like Willy Wonka, and it's like, what the heck? And I'm walking down and I'm looking at there's someone like some Disney character or something like Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and I'm like, what the heck? And even would change their voices, right? So like I'd just be walking like I'm talking to Trump and some stranger, but he's like he sounds like Trump, he looks like Trump.
That's crazy, dude.
I know.
As this technology that's coming is here's one for you. YouTube account 159 says, eternal monogamy is eternal boredom.
That's lame.
You want to take that one?
It's not boredom. I don't see why that'd be boredom at all. Because
So
hello, I think you can still talk to this person. They're developing their ideas. They're not the same person forever. They're changing. You're changing. Why would it get bored? There's augmented reality technology, so you can like change the way they look if you wanted to. I mean, there's the possibilities are endless.
We're also ignoring the fact that like if once there's relationships between humans and AI, if you don't like the way she is anymore, just reprogram her to be different. It's a fluid person that you can change, who will change based on how you change, because your interests will change over time, your preferences will change over time. I think that's one of the problems with marriage is we got kind of roped into this system where it didn't allow for the men and women to kind of react to their changes and change their lives based on that. But I mean, this desire to be polygamous, I think it comes from the genes. So if we just genetically engineer it out, I don't see why we have to keep being fucking polygamous, because polygamy fucks up society. I think in the sense that when you have a polygamous society, eventually it'll be in the same sense that capital tends to accumulate in fewer and fewer hands and you get a 1% elite. I think the same happens with sexual capital. So if you have polygamy, you can have like 1% of the dudes fucking like 90% of the women. I think that's perfectly possible. That's what a lot of the like incels are saying, is that like they're scared of that happening. But I don't think that's why it destroys societies. The reason being that men, in order for men to contribute to society, in order for them to give a shit about their job or even to go to work, is because they have like a family that they need to support. And if they don't have a family, like, okay, why the fuck would I do anything? I'm just going to stay home and play video games. So fuck you. That's the Spengler, the guy I mentioned earlier, he draws a parallel between the collapse of civilizations and the rise of polygamy, whereas the height of civilizations happens with monogamy. And there was another philosopher, I think it was J.D. Unwin. He had this like utopian society where we bring back like Victorian sexual repression. And he thinks that's what builds civilizations. So he wants to make everybody like super prudish about sex again or something like that.
Interesting.
And I think Freud also had this theory of Sigmund Freud had this theory of sublimation, where instead of jerking off or being a degenerate, you channel that sexual drive into like a work of art or a scientific endeavor, and you like create productivity out of that testosterone.
Sexual transmutation. I think they're also big on this idea in the no-fap community.
No-fap.
That's what they think is the superpowers. They think they get the superpowers from the sublimation of all their sexual energy.
By the way, guys, how's Rowan's volume? Tell us if Rowan is crackling.
Yeah, how do I sound to you?
Elena says, I didn't notice a crackle. Okay, we're fine.
Okay.
I was just concerned. Just being a good co-host.
It's good to be
next question.
Wait, one more thing on that boredom issue. I feel like that's a very narcissistic way of thinking about boredom, because it's not just about why would you ever get bored? Because if you think about actually helping other people, if you think about, okay, it's my task to help this other person live forever, then if you're doing your job and trying to help your partner, your eternal love, live forever, they should never be bored, because there's so much more things you could do to increase their chance of living forever all the time, because you never know for sure they're going to live forever. You never know for sure you're going to live forever, so you have a unlimited amount of job to do to help them live forever.
Elena says the government is the biggest prepper. The government has underground bunkers. Yeah, I would agree with that. For people who say like rednecks, like prepping is only for rednecks and hillbillies who fuck their cousins, you could not be more wrong. The biggest prepper in this entire country is the fucking government. So if the government's doing it, don't you think maybe you should be concerned about what they're concerned about? If they're concerned about the virus and the stock market and people like looting shit, don't you think you should be maybe just a tiny bit concerned? Or you should join me and Rowan, and we'll build, we'll found a no-go zone. We'll call it Terminus, and we'll rebuild civilization from there, just like in Asimov.
Yes.
So I think that'll be interesting. We got a lot of work to do, though. We're nowhere near ready to do that. We don't have enough people. We need more people. Fernando Gurgel, sorry if I'm butchering your name. Fernando Gurgel says, is there any CRISPR-Cas9 human standard upgrade available to buy? I'm not sure about this. I don't do as much biohacking as some of these other transhumanists do. Like, I don't edit my own genes. I think it's a little dangerous, because you could get a gene that inserts into the middle of another gene and create like and maybe that gene was protecting you from cancer, and then you get cancer. I think we should wait a while until it's a little bit better. I know the Chinese are doing it, but it's only a select few laboratories that are making babies. And they're not even letting them grow up. They're just making the embryos and then destroying them. So I think we got time. We got maybe 2-3 decades before we start seeing these superhumans walking around. But that is a very real danger, because like what we have right now is social classes. These are very socially constructed, the rich and poor. But once you have genetic engineering technology, the classes harden into castes. So now you have a caste system, like in India, where you have the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, the Shudras, and the Dalits, the untouchables. I don't want to become a fucking Dalit, like, genetically. I mean, you have to be able to have social mobility, but once genetic engineering kicks in and only the rich can afford to get genetically engineered, that will it'll justify racism. It'll justify social Darwinism and eugenics and whatnot, because I'm literally a superhuman race because I made myself one, and you are literally genetically different from me. So you can't say this whole it's only just skin color, man, because this time they actually do make the fucking changes to their IQ and their strength and all this shit. So it's very scary.
I mean, if there's jealousy now, just think about how much, if the future goes in the wrong direction, and the divide gets so much worse with augmenting IQ and different things. Just imagine how much jealousy there could be in the future. Crazy.
The same guy, Fernando, asks, is it possible to achieve spiritual awakening, Buddhahood? So enlightenment, nirvana.
That's a great question.
Becoming a bodhisattva. So yeah, I have a video on it. It's called The Age of M. It's called What Will Humans Look Like in 100 Years? You could click on that. At the very end of it, I talk about this thing called nirvana. Like, get it? It's like a trick, like nerves and nirvana, enlightenment. So you use neurotechnology to sort of find the neural correlates for suffering, ego, and desire. If you look at the Four Noble Truths in Buddhism, the first truth is that all life is suffering. All suffering comes from desire. All desire comes from the ego. Therefore, to eliminate suffering, eliminate the ego. Find the neural correlates of the ego and take them out, and then you're enlightened. So I think it's possible to find those parts of the brain and fuck with them.
Would you ever want to do that, though? Because I feel like the ego is so important for our survival, right?
Yeah, it depends on how you define the ego, because do you define the ego as just like your reptilian brain or like the neural cortex that reflects on the ego? I think there's multiple parts to the ego. Like we have 3 brains. We don't have 1 brain. We have 3. Low brain, midbrain, high brain. And I think the ego exists in different parts of each one. The reptilian ego, it's not really that bad unless it's like making you fucking kill other people and eat them or whatever. Some of the egos you can get rid of and some you don't have to. I think it's possible to still have your drive to live forever, because you are a living thing. Of course you're going to want to live forever, because even fucking bacteria, like their prime directive is to keep that fucking DNA molecule safe so it can replicate.
Right.
That it's the founding principle of all life. And I don't think you can just destroy immortalism by editing out one neurological pathway. I don't think it's just that simple. But for editing out suffering and desire, I think that is possible. If you find the neural correlates of desire and you edit them out, you can become a happy person. You don't have to run on the hedonic treadmill anymore. You can become a bodhisattva, a Buddha. So watch that video. I talk about it a lot. Anyway, next question. Elena says, the government is ready to restart civilization after the rest of us perish. Well, I mean, yeah, if you're only going to perish if you don't have a fucking no-go zone. So get a no-go zone. Find a bunch of people who share your beliefs. Start stockpiling food, medicine, guns. Rowan and I have already talked about this on several podcasts. We got a bunch of like different ideas for how we're going to build the bunker, and we just need people. That's it.
Right.
I think that's like I have a lot of the supplies ready to go. I just need more people, because the 2 of us can't defend a fucking civilization by ourselves, okay? Like, we just get our fucking throat slit in the middle of the night. You need people to stand guard and whatnot. Bobby doesn't seem that interested. Bobby is more concerned with, like, CEO banging chicks and whatnot. But maybe we can convince him to join the prepper. Maybe we can convince Bobby to join the prepper group.
You don't think he's interested in what? In what? The bunker?
In the bunker. Yeah, I think he's more interested in like being a CEO and banging chicks than he is in this whole like firing guns and fucking stockpiling shit. And burying shipping containers and building underground fortresses.
Right.
Elena says, is the purge an example of anarchy? And if so, why be an anarchist? Okay, this is complicated. So anarchy, the word anarchy comes from the Greek word archon. Archon means the state, the king, the ruler. And anarchy means no state, no king, no ruler. So here's where it gets confusing, because archon also means hierarchies. So I think anarchism, if you want me to define anarchism in one word, is no hierarchy. You eliminate hierarchies. And I think like the blockchain, the same technology that governs Bitcoin, can be used to create a decentralized society with no hierarchies. Depends on what kind of hierarchies, though. I think economic hierarchies are the worst ones. They're the ones that make you want to fucking envy people and get sad about how fucking shitty your life is compared to somebody else's, and you can't help but get sad. You know, I think anarchism is just the elimination of hierarchy. The absence of government, that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how recently did the government disappear and how fast did it disappear. I would fully support like a peaceful transition to like a decentralized society whereby the people who work at a workplace actually govern the workplace with like some democratic blockchain system, and like they receive dividends from the company stock in accordance to their contribution. I think that'd be pretty interesting. So that's one example of anarchy. But another example of anarchy is just we fucking kill Trump, we kill all the government officials, and then just fucking chaos. So it depends on like how you want to accomplish this society. So Elena says, why be anarchist? Well, the reason is because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Read Machiavelli. Like, you have to be a dick if you're going to be a politician. And I think we can create a society where that's not necessary. All it takes is the right technology. A lot of people tried, like Spanish Catalonia was an anarchist society. They tried to create one, but it failed because they couldn't get people for their military. So they're like, oh shit, now we have to press gang people. We're just like the government. Or when they had to collect rations, or put people in prison. Oh shit, we're building anarchist prisons. We're a fucking government now. The same goes for Makhnovist Ukraine. Makhno banned all newspapers except for the anarchist newspaper. And people were like, how are you not a government? So it gets really interesting when you try to do anarchy without the proper technology to implement it effectively. And I think eventually we will have the proper technology to implement it effectively. It's just a question of how. What's your plan? What kind of society do you want? Because there's so many different kinds of hierarchies. Right. There's sexual hierarchies, there's racial hierarchies, there's class hierarchies. Which ones do you want to get rid of? That'll be what defines your anarchism. For me, it's biological hierarchies. So, I mean, you should be able to change your own biology if you want. And we don't yet have the technology to like Rowan was saying earlier, like, Rowan, you want to give yourself a higher IQ with like genetic engineering. That's your example of wanting to restabilize a hierarchy, flatten it a little, such that the people can control what kind of people they want to be, and they don't have to be stratified into these very limited social classes. So that's just one example.
Right.
But yeah, next question. Elena,
I don't think I was saying I wanted to enhance my IQ, although I do. I think. Did you? I was saying other people who might feel like they have a lower IQ if they buy into those studies that show that certain races or whatever have lower IQ. I was saying those people might feel certain jealous of other races with a higher IQ. I wasn't talking about like my personal self, although now that you say it, of course I would want to enhance my IQ.
For me,
if it was safe, I don't know. It might, like, enhancing your IQ, I don't know, it seems so invasive. Maybe it would, I'm a little worried that maybe it would take away part of my identity, doing that. I don't know.
I feel the same way. I feel like I'm getting by just fine in life with a low IQ, but being smart in other ways. Like, there's so many different kinds of intelligence. There's like emotional intelligence, social intelligence, introspective intelligence, which I think I have a lot of, spatial intelligence, logical, like abstract reasoning, which I think I'm also very good at, kinetic intelligence, like athletes. That's not just like your fucking reflexes. You have to think about how you're fucking playing the sport. And some people are better at that than others. There's so many different kinds. And I think I can afford to not be smart and just be smart in terms of IQ. And
Are you sure not smart? I mean, are you sure you don't have a genius IQ? Seem pretty freaking smart.
Well, actually, yeah, I do watch Rick and Morty, so I thought my IQ would be at least 300, but apparently it's just 94.
If you had to guess what my IQ, what would you think it would? If you had to guess.
Okay, I know you're a little bit above average. 108? 110?
I don't know my freaking IQ. I'm just asking you to guess.
Don't take one of those.
Don't you feel like I talk kind of dumb? Don't you feel like I talk kind of dumb?
Well, this goes back to the
I have a hard time like forming sentences and like actually communicating something sometimes.
I don't.
My sentences come out all weird, and it's like, what the heck did he just say? You know what I mean?
I don't think you're dumb. I think maybe like you're lower in linguistic intelligence, but
Uh-huh.
probably higher in introspective intelligence because you can clearly follow what I'm saying. Like you understand what I'm saying, and that's super rare for me. Like most people are like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like even in the comments of my videos, they'll be like, "I didn't understand a word of what you just said, but you understand everything." I don't know. It's intelligence. That's a weird animal. It's a very controversial topic, and I don't think like IQ tells this whole story.
Right.
So maybe like before you bomb a country for it having low IQ, maybe consider other ways in which they can contribute to civilization.
Well said. Right.
Elena says, last comment. One more comment. Have you heard if you can get a transplant, you can get personality traits from the donor? Pretty freaky, right? Oh yeah. Because here's the thing. I want to comment on this. So the idea of a gut feeling, or like follow your heart.
Oh, Brent talks about this all the time. He's so into this.
Real because you have so many neurons in your heart. And this goes back to mind-body dualism, and it came from Descartes. Mind-body dualism is bullshit. It says like you have a mind and a body, and they're separate things. The mind exists in the spirit world, where your soul will go after you die, and then the body exists in the material world, where all the things decay. Actually, they're the same fucking world. So your mind, neurons, which are intertwined with your musculoskeletal system, which is intertwined with your heart. Your heart is a muscle. So follow your heart is fucking taken literally. There's so many neurons in your heart. And same with your gut. Like your gut microbiome, it affects the neurons you have in your gut. Like your there's also like the vagus nerve. Like your nervous system doesn't exist in a vacuum. This is one of the problems with mind uploading. Is I'd say like only 95% of you is actually in your brain. The other 5% is out here in your hormonal profile, in your microbiome, in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of cheesy, whatever.
Right. No, it's so important. That's such an important idea.
Your heart is part of your brain, and so is your stomach.
I mean, other organs too. Like we don't even know. Like let's say, what if there's a part of our consciousness or part of our identity in another organ that's like the spleen, for instance, or the liver? Like there's different in Chinese medicine. There's different emotions associated with each organ. So like the spleen is associated with fear, and like the liver is associated with anger, and all this weird stuff like that. So what if when I lost my spleen, I literally lost a part of my consciousness? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's I guess you ever heard of phantom limb syndrome? When people lose an arm, like veterans, they do feel like part of them is dead, like part of their consciousness is gone. They feel their arm is there, but it's not. Mm-hmm. There really is no mind-body dualism. Like you as a person are your mind. So maybe we should stop calling it mind uploading and start calling it body uploading.
Yes.
Another question: which sci-fi movie do you wish our future should become more like? Oh, that's a good one for you. What's your ideal sci-fi movie?
The Island. I want us to clone people and steal their organs for ourselves.
But the Island was
I'm joking.
But the Island was a dystopian movie, right?
I mean, Ex Machina. I want to have sex robots that end up trying to like kill us. Of course. No, yeah. I'm just joking. Elysium. I want to have. I want that war eventually between the rich people who try to steal all the technology and the goods for themselves, and then the poor people who like try to revolt and take it. I want to have that. Let's do that.
It's a good answer. Okay. It's refreshing to S. Just his name is just S. Her name is her. It's refreshing to hear someone else talking about how we might alter our minds. I would agree. Linda says where there is chaos. That depends on like what you mean by hierarchy. What are the police allowed to do and what are they not allowed to do? Because the police exist in multiple hierarchies. They're able to kind of do things normal citizens wouldn't be allowed to do. And I would say like even the police force itself, I think it's over militarized. It's way more militaristic than it needs to be. I think we should start like the future. I think the police force of the future, maybe like 50 years in the future, I think the futuristic transhumanist police will have more like neuroscientists and social workers than actual like skinheads who joined the police force just so they could shoot black people. I think I think it will have a more enlightened police force. I don't think we'll ever get rid of it. I think it'll just gradually erode into this rehabilitation network that's just part of your commune or your local government, whatever you want to call it. Salve says, do you believe the apocalypse will happen? Do you believe in Ragnarok, Revelations, the Four Horsemen, Kali Yuga, etc.? Oh, that's a good one. You want to take that?
That's difficult for me. I mean, I don't even think my beliefs in this regard are that important. I don't, how can you judge this sort of thing? I have no idea. What do you think? I don't think about that very much.
I think we just kind of talked about this earlier. We talked about Zoroastrianism and how Zoroastrianism doesn't really have, like, the Ahura Mazda isn't playing a game with you. It's just creating the god just creates the world and says, it's up to you to make this world a better place, rather than me just manipulating you, like having a divine plan.
Right.
So it's very Promethean.
Your video went away. Your video went away.
Damn it.
I would say this, though. I do think, regardless of what you believe about the apocalypse or the hypothetical god, it makes sense to live as though it were true. Live as though there might be some kind of divine judgment, that your actions will be judged, or the Egyptian story, that your heart will be weighed against the feather, and there's this karmic system, and it's all this orderly system, and you're going to be judged like everything you do, or it's like Santa, like he's making a list, naughty or nice,
checking it twice.
Like, I believe in that. So that's, to me, what it comes down to, is like how you're living. Are you living as though there could be this judgment? Your actions will be measured and judged. Christopher Reeves said something really cool on this. He said he doesn't believe in the Lord, but he tries to live as though he were watching. And I believe in that. I believe that even an atheist can be a God-fearing atheist. You can fear the hypothetical God just in case. I believe everyone should. I think it's the smart way to live. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you look at the simulation hypothesis, it's this assertion that we're just AIs in a virtual training program. And just as we train AIs to kind of, we train them to do a specific, they suck at it, we turn them off. And if they're good at it, we let them come back to the real world and we use it in our social media websites and whatnot. I think this is very likely. I love your perspective on this. That's the judgment day.
So right? Live as though you're trying to be a utility to the hypothetical god, the hypothetical AI god. You're useful to that type of entity. You're in accordance with the will of that type of entity, right?
Yes.
Makes sense. So smart. So smart.
That was a good question from
your video went away again. Oh, you're back.
Elena says, I think the police need to be policed for sure. Oh yeah, definitely. For sure. Solve says, Kim Peek is an example of how a man can be a genius by a photograph. Oh yeah, so Kim Peek, so this guy is superhuman. He's like the real life Rain Man. He's like this autistic guy who can remember the entire internet, like the entire fucking Wikipedia. He commits it to memory and never forgets again. It's called an eidetic memory, or photographic memory, if you want that term. But yeah, so he says Kim Peek is an example of how a man can be a genius in one sense, but he also had terrible social skills because he was autistic. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Like, IQ isn't the be-all, end-all. Somebody should go tell the alt-right not to base their whole fucking ideology on IQ.
Right. And
I don't want to live in a society where the people were chosen just because they have IQ, because sometimes high IQ people can be dicks and they destroy themselves, right?
Right. Speaking of IQ, I should mention, I have a video. I like hype up the IQ a lot on my channel and just the way I talk with the language and everything, but I understand this concept that IQ isn't everything, and I think I even made a video called IQ Isn't Everything, Eternal Life Fan, and I encourage everyone to watch that. Let me see what it's called. Look at it. It's called IQ Isn't Everything. It's called IQ Isn't Everything. What is real intelligence? So if you want my thoughts on the IQ, that's the video to watch. All right, go.
Okay, on next question. Elena says, this is an older comment. Elena says, Moses ripping off the Egyptians is very compelling. I'd love to look into this ancient stuff. Where did he learn all this stuff? So, I'd say look into Zoroastrianism, look into Jason Reza Giorgiani. He's like a Iranian philosopher who really tries to find the origins of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, and he thinks it's Zoroastrianism. I also mentioned Sigmund Freud. So Sigmund Freud, his book Moses and Monotheism. Look into that maybe. Osman Aslan, so the guy who, the Egyptian guy who compares Moses to, who thinks Moses was a pharaoh and he got kicked out, or a priest who got kicked out. A lot of things to look into, but think about history. I really hate history as a discipline because it's so fucking hard to prove anything. It's not science. It's there are scientific techniques in history, but you can never arrive at a model because it changes based on discovering new sources of new witnesses. It's all based on witness testimony, and I hate that. But I mean, what are you gonna do? So you can't like, it's not like physics where I draw out a bunch of equations and I can reason that I can posit the existence of particles and then we just go find them in the collider. It's not like that.
Right.
Yeah. Elena says there's a book called The Fireproof Diet, and I think it pushes veganism, but of course there's reason to doubt the truth to it. Thing about veganism, oh man, I am so close to being a vegan. All I have to do is give up fish oil. But I don't know.
Wait. You don't eat any dairy? You don't eat cheese?
No. I eat MCT oil, like coconut oil. I put that in my coffee.
Why don't you eat cheese?
It's different kinds of fats. You got to learn the kinds of fats that'll put you into ketosis and the kinds that won't. What you want is what are called MCTs, medium chain fatty acids, or triglycerides, and those will like trick your body into burning fat.
Wait, butter, dairy fat has a lot of MCTs.
Yeah, there's this goes back to like Dave Asprey. He puts butter in his coffee, like the grass-fed butter. But I think coconut oil is way better at this is just speaking from personal experience. But yeah, I don't eat burgers and bacon. I feel like killing a pig is like, to me at least, I'm not gonna force veganism on you or whatever, but to me killing a pig feels like killing a puppy. So I will kill fish though. I fucking don't give a shit about you motherfuckers with your fuck fish. I don't think they're okay. If I have to be a Nazi for like one time in this live stream, fish are the inferior race. I mean, these fuckers don't have any facial expressions. I can't empathize with them. If I look into the eyes of like a cow or a pig or a puppy or something, I'll be like, oh, it's a mammal. It's just like me. Or like the whales getting killed by the harpooners. I feel bad for the fucking whales. But when I look at a fish, it's just fucking emotionless, has no fucking eyelids, and just...
Yeah,
I don't care.
I agree.
I don't know.
I mean, I was at a vegan conference
I think vegans
a while
have
ago.
the same
They were
problem.
literally trying to make me feel guilty for eating fish, and I'm like, come on, really?
Okay, here's the thing. I think vegans have the same problem that libertarians, like anarcho-capitalists and communists have. Is like the anarcho-capitalists, like, oh, we have to be absolutely pure anarchist, no fucking transition of any kind, just no government. We have private courts, private police, private fucking everything, and we have to be ideologically pure. I just say do what works. Just find all these ideologies, pick what works, and just make it mesh into the system. Like, just find the ideal system. Allow flexibility. Allow creativity in politics. Otherwise, you're going to try and make reality conform to your standards rather than vice versa. Your standards should reflect reality. Like anarcho-capitalism, if you look into like the intellectuals who founded it, it's very, very, very theoretical. Like Ludwig von Mises and Murray Rothbard. So these are the guys who founded anarcho-capitalism. It's very, very theoretical in the sense that it's called praxeology is the intellectual theory it's based on. And it's all a priori. So there's no actual experiments being done. And I think veganism is kind of like that too. It's like, it's all based on like principles. Like, oh, you can't eat any kind of animal or any kind. Okay, where do you draw the fucking line? Can I eat an amoeba? Is that an animal? Where do you draw the line between what is and isn't an animal? Can I eat like a tapeworm or whatever? I mean, gets really complicated.
And some people think even plants can feel pain, right? So it's like, what the heck?
Okay, well, if you use like the biological taxonomy, plants are obviously not animals because they're a different kingdom of life. But exactly what evolutionary tree do vegans say it's okay and not okay? Because a lot of people draw the line at different spots. Some people will say, like, I think you're ovo-lacto, so you draw the line at dairy. Like, it's okay to maybe you'll draw the line at cows and farm animals, but you'll still eat eggs and butter and fish and whatnot. And for me, I'll draw the line at fucking fish because fish and reptiles. I don't think reptiles, fish, somewhere in that evolutionary transition, I draw the line between what I empathize with and what I don't empathize with.
I draw the line purely for health reasons. It's not ethical for me. I would eat, if you told me if I learned tomorrow that cows were like good for me, and like they would extend my life, I would eat them.
Watch out, cows.
I would eat them. I would eat an entire cow a day if I had to extend my life. It's not an ethical thing for me. I literally just don't eat cows or pigs or any of these other animals because I don't think they're good for me and I think they're bad for me.
So the reason I eat fish is not because fish are tasty, but because I need the omega-3s that I get from them. You cannot... Vegans are like, oh, you can just get your omega-3s from flaxseed. Do you know how much fucking flaxseed you have to get the same amount of omega-3 from flaxseed that you get from fish?
Yeah, it's bullcrap.
Not fucking practical or possible. Holy shit.
Do you eat fish oil or do you actually eat the whole fish, like sardines? Like
depends. Like I got fish oil pills, so I don't have to eat fish. But like since the fish are gonna fucking die anyway, sometimes I'll eat sardines. Because like if I run out of fish oil pills, but I got sardines in the cupboard, I'll be like, oh, sardines.
And think about it, like these animals, this ethical argument for veganism ends when you realize that in nature, these animals would suffer worse deaths, more ferocious, horrible suffering at the hands of some other animal ripping it to shreds, or these fish are going to be eaten by a shark or something. They're going to die anyways. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, this brings up the whole like philosophy of determinism and like ethical responsibility. We should have had fucking, when we were interviewing David Pierce, he's like a vegan philosopher for you guys who don't know. We should have brought up a lot of this because I wonder where David Pierce would draw the line.
Yeah, we didn't push back enough against this stuff.
We didn't have our shit together. We like Bobby and we didn't organize like which questions we were going to ask and in what order. So it was a disaster, that podcast, but we'll still upload it for you guys because we like you just that much. Anyway, Elena says, I also heard 5G is causing heart attacks and they don't want us to know that. So they're saying it's the coronavirus. What do you think about 5G?
Oh, wow. 5G causing heart attacks? I mean, holy crap. It wouldn't surprise me. I have heard that when they like made those Wuhan hospitals really quickly, they made like a huge Wuhan, they like loaded it with 5G towers. I'm not sure how true that is, but I don't know. I don't think it's just 5G. I think there's an actual coronavirus. So I don't know. I'm definitely scared of 5G though. I think people should be scared of 5G. I think
the conspiracy theories about 5G are overblown, but that doesn't mean I think it's suddenly fucking safe.
Right.
We haven't tried this ever in history, and we need to see what happens before we do widespread adoption. So if you're looking for another reason to go start a no-go zone in Idaho and start storing the knowledge of civilization there, here's another good reason to go.
Yes.
Also, Idaho. Have you seen Idaho? It's fucking pretty. It's like the most underrated state in this entire country.
I'll show a picture.
And like nobody fucking lives there. What is it, like 800,000 people who live there? Why is it so uninhabited?
Holy moly, it is pretty.
Look up Twin Falls.
Maybe that's where all the elites are living, but just underground. That's why it looks like it's uninhabited.
No. The elites all moved to New Zealand.
Oh, really?
The reason they're doing that is because there's a calculation you can do for proximity to war. And New Zealand is the most isolated geopolitically in terms of war. So if there's a World War III, New Zealand is the safest.
But isn't there like a big hole in the ozone there? Like breaks.
Well, it's actually it's in the ocean. The hole is below Australia in the ocean, and it's slowly repairing itself. I don't think that's the big problem. The reason I'm not going to New Zealand is the fucking earthquakes. You can't build a bunker when there's earthquakes nearby. Are you kidding me? Fuck that. Well, if it's above ground, sure, but if it's below ground, I don't know. I'd rather just go to like Tasmania. You know where Tasmania is? Pull that up on Google Images.
I think of the Tasmanian devil.
So Tasmania is an island off the coast of Australia, and fucking nobody lives there either. There's like one town called Hobart, and it's like maybe 500,000 people, but the rest of the island is like federal land, uninhabited. And
looks beautiful.
It actually has Tasmania. It's beautiful, but it also has like a temperate climate. So you know how Australia is really fucking hot. Tasmania actually gets some snow during the winter. I like that. I like having seasons somewhat. And
Me
also,
too.
And also like Tasmania, it's isolated from the mainland. So if Australia goes into full fucking boogaloo mode and everyone starts killing each other, you're far away from it. I think that's a great place to do your no-go zone. And pull up tectonic plates, Pacific Rim. The what is it called? The Great, the Circle of Fire. The Pacific Ring of Fire. That's it. The Pacific Ring.
Found the Ring of Fire.
Yeah. So if you look at that, you'll see that Tasmania is not in an earthquake zone. It's not going to get tsunamis because New Zealand will block all the tsunamis for it. It's not going to get fucking cyclones, because if you look at the map of cyclones, there's no cyclones that hit, or hurricanes or typhoons that hit Tasmania. It's pretty safe. So what kind of, like, blizzards? There's no blizzards either. What kind of natural disaster could possibly happen on Tasmania other than the occasional bushfire? Like, I mean, it's pretty safe in terms of Mother Nature's wrath.
Awesome.
Way better than New Zealand. New Zealand is like, they get their shit pushed in if that volcano erupts. Look up this map of super volcanoes. So right now there's
speaking of volcanoes, we should talk about Hawaii. You know, we have Elena here in the chat. She lives in Hawaii. Should she move out of Hawaii?
So Elena, if you're still here, which island do you live on in Hawaii? Did you live on the big island that had that volcanic eruption last year? Anyway, so pull up that map of super volcanoes. Mm-hmm. So there's 6 super volcanoes, and one of them, there's a giant lake in New Zealand called Lake Taipo. It's not a lake, it's a volcano. It's like the crater of a volcano with water in it. And when that thing goes off, you're all fucked. Kiwis, sorry. How would you say it in New Zealand talk? You're all fucked. You're all ficked. Or how do New Zealanders talk? They talk something like that. They talk like Australians, but they use a lot of I's and whatever. What are some New Zealander YouTubers that I can point to? I guess like Danny Duchamp is New Zealander. That's it.
I love kiwis, man. I freaking love kiwis. Those are one of my favorite fruits.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one location. I also like Sakhalin. So Sakhalin is that island off the coast of Russia in the east. It's like north of Japan. I think that's where the native people there, the Ainu. I think I might have like some kind of genetic link there when I looked at my 23andMe, because I think like the original people who lived on Japan probably were like more like the Siberian people and less like the Japanese people, but some of them still live on like Sakhalin, like the natives.
Nice.
Also, like that area, once all the permafrost melts from climate change, Sakhalin will be like the gateway to the east. It'll be like Hong Kong for Russians. I think that'd be pretty interesting to see a distant future where that happens. Another one I like is Norway. Norway's pretty safe from natural disasters. Like what happens in Norway? Fucking nothing. But it's just cold. That's it.
Oh, I love Norway. I want to go to Norway. I want to go to Iceland and Norway. I like all the geothermic water in like Iceland, like, and it's like open to the public. Like you just be like, go to the freaking hot springs and like everyone's there chilling out. It seems so relaxed, and just, it's also one of the longest lived countries, Iceland.
Another great place for a no-go zone is the Azores Islands. So that's safe. It's it's far away from any earthquake zones. Also Alaska, like maybe not necessarily the fucking far north tundra, but like the coastal Alaska somewhere. That'd be pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
although I heard in Alaska there's like abductions, like alien abductions up there, and there's like a whole movie about it called I forgot the movie. It's
Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind with Mila Jovovich.
Yes, and yeah, so it's a little scary. And I heard like there's like a lot of satanic cults up there. I don't know.
Elena says yes. Hawaii, the big one. Ask her about the volcano. Did you see how close were you to the volcanic eruption?
Yeah, and tell us, Elena, are you like afraid of any of these? Are you afraid of? You ever get a fear of like volcanoes? And I know they have this VOG in Hawaii. When I lived in Hawaii, there's this VOG. It's like the smoke that comes out, and it's like it destroys your lungs. You can't breathe it in too much. It'll get in your eyes. It's awful.
Elena says, I know some transhumanists are for privacy. Oh yeah, right here. But I heard they say getting rid of it would make us safer. Yeah, so I had a whole debate with Bobby. Bobby is a transhumanist who supports surveillance while I oppose it. I think go on Archer Steele's channel. It's called Detonation, and he brings us both on at the same time about it. So if you're interested,
wait, you broke up.
I'll make my arguments.
What happened on Detonation? You broke up there. The last thing you said.
Oh, so Detonation is a channel that hosts like transhumanist thinkers, and Bobby and I went on, and I supported pro-privacy, and he was pro-surveillance, and we had like a little debate. If you're interested, maybe go check that video out. Right. But yeah,
I think privacy is. I think that privacy, we're going to move towards a world with less privacy, and I think we should already be living as though we're in a social credit system when we have no privacy. Like, just in case, be prepared for anything. It's scary.
I think just in the sense that it's possible to create a social media network whereby there's no centralized entity that can steal your data, because it exists. There's plenty of social networks out there that are like blockchain based. I think you can also create a society with a blockchain system whereby your data can't be stolen by the central company. So I think it's interesting to look into. Maybe we could preserve some aspects of privacy, but once we get to like the drones being this small, I think preserving privacy is going to get really hard.
Yeah, like nanotech. There'll be cameras the size of a nanotechnology, like a microscopical.
Yeah, they'll fucking send little drones, insects, little tiny bees that'll spy on you while you take a shit. I hate that.
And not to mention, like, you know, like what happens with a mammogram, they can see what's happening in the baby. They could have giant mammogram things that can just span the entire earth and just see everyone's like imprint and what they're doing and right?
Okay, Evgeny13 says cows are good for you. Carnivore diet is proper food. Brainlit alert. Brainlit blocked. Just kidding. I think bad ideas should be put out to roast in the sun.
Yeah.
I think this whole carnivore diet fad is just a product of Michaela Peterson and Jordan Peterson, and it'll blow over. Just give it like a year, and no one will be talking about it.
It's pretty dumb because when you research,
where's the science? Yeah. Where's the blood? Where's the hormonal profile? Where's all the lab results from these carnivore diets that where are all these mass studies being done that show that it's legit? I think all these people have like Jordan Peterson's anecdotal assertions. I don't think that's big enough to go on.
I think a lot of the benefits people are experiencing just because it's an elimination diet and they're eliminating all this other crap from their diet.
Yeah, they're getting rid. Yeah, it's basically a keto diet. I mean, I'm on a keto diet right now, and I don't eat only meat. Yeah. I mean, it's possible.
But it's not going to be good for your longevity because it's way too high in iron, and that iron's going to oxidize your whole body and rust your arteries. Iron is a pro-oxidant. Especially men, they accumulate iron stores. It's very toxic, and then it's not good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like a diet of pure red meat. Fuck, dude.
That's also going to destroy your kidneys. It's also going to destroy your kidneys.
Enjoy your quadruple bypass surgery. Anyway, I'm not going to rag on that. I think he means well. He's trying life extension. Yeah. Whatever.
And we're helping him right now. Yeah. And be careful with your kidneys too, because processing all that meat protein is very stressful on the kidneys because it's got a lot of free phosphorus. And they say when you have like a kidney issue, the first thing you have to do is eliminate meat because it's like all that phosphorus on your kidneys is really stressful.
Elena says the air quality from the volcano was a problem, but I never felt the threat of lava. Absolutely, yeah. The biggest threat of volcano, the lava doesn't kill fucking anybody. It's the fucking ash that gets rained down on you and fucks with your air quality. And it also destroys your crops, by the way. So on that map of 6 super volcanoes, another one I forgot to mention was Yellowstone. Guess where Yellowstone is? Border of Idaho and Wyoming. Yeah. However, if you take into account the rotation of the Earth and like the air currents, most of the ash gets blown on the Midwest, and Idaho actually gets none of it.
Wow.
So, yeah, if you look up a Yellowstone blast radius on Google Images, and it'll give you like a bunch of rings for how much ash the surrounding area is getting. So it's going to be like an oval with like Idaho getting nothing, but like the Midwest being fucking drowned in ash just because of the way the Earth rotates and the currents and whatnot. So I think we're relatively safe if Yellowstone erupts. Maybe if you're living in like Boise or Moscow or Coeur d'Alene, like those towns in Idaho, I think you're safe. But if you're like Rexburg, like the Mormon city right next to Yellowstone, you're fucked. You're too close to Yellowstone. But Rowan, why did you post that satanic movie clip where the woman is crucified and burned? I don't know what she's talking about. Do you know what she's talking about?
I think she's talking about probably some clip from Silent Hill. It's a movie.
Oh.
It's a movie where they crucify it's this evil cult in the movie. There's this cultish like Christian cult or whatever. And I don't want to call them a Christian cult. Okay, I don't want to.
Yeah, no, Elena, the people who were burning that woman were the bad guys.
Yeah, they were the bad guys. It was those are the bad guys.
Okay, and so my recommendation for Elena, don't watch the movies, play the video games. The Silent Hill video games are so much better than the movies. Holy shit.
Oh, freak, man. I
they're
love
scary, though.
The movies. Holy crap, man. The freaking movies
I like the movies. I like the movies, but I like the games better. I don't know why. Maybe it's because like the games were made by like the actual Japanese creators of the series. They were better.
Yeah, I love the games too. I like the games, but man, the movies they have this the nothing. I don't think anything better capture, and I've never seen a movie capture better the idea of like a divine judgment than Silent Hill, because it's like these people, these evil, wicked, cultish people, whatever, that they ended up like doing all this evil stuff.
They get their shit pushed in at the end.
Yes. Yes. Right, exactly. And they get their retribution. And it's like, it's coming from this like divine judgment thing. It's like awesome.
S asks, have you ever read Three Worlds Collide? Oh shit, Google that. I've never heard of this. Three Worlds Collide. Three Worlds Collide. I'm going to Google it. Say work. You're doing too much of the work. You need rest. Okay. Three.
Who's doing too much of the world? What?
Because
nothing. I'm going like this. I'm stretching. Just stretching out my back.
You have to like Google images.
What do you want me to Google? I can Google it. I don't know.
Oh shit. Okay. Three Worlds Collide. Three Worlds Collide is a analysis by Eliezer Yudkowsky. Okay, this is less wrong shit. We'll save this for another podcast. Interesting though. Interesting thinker, for sure.
I'll show him a picture of Silent Hill just for the heck of it.
You gonna look up Silent Hill?
I'm gonna show them a picture. Watch, I'll show them like this you guys watch this movie. It's freaking good. I love it. Alright, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean it depends on like whether you like the Silent Hill games or not. It's gonna depend a lot on your personality. I've also really been really big into like personality testing. What do you think about personality testing? You ever heard of that, like Briggs-Myers?
INTP. I was supposed to be an INTP. Some people, but then I started to think maybe I'm more extroverted than. I think I might be like half introverted, half extroverted now. I used to think I'm more extroverted, but I used to think I'm more introverted, but now it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure.
They made me take that test in high school, and then they made me take it in college, and then at my like internship with my company, the corporate makes us take that test again. So I don't know. It might be bullshit, but do you think it actually tells you something about a person's personality? Maybe just a little bit.
I think it does. I think there's definitely patterns that come out of that are true. For sure.
Because I think I always thought Briggs-Myers was just horoscopes for stupid people who think like they're a tiny bit smarter than the people who actually believe in horoscopes.
Right. But what was yours on the Myers-Briggs test? What'd you come on?
You'll never guess. So the first time I took it was INTP. Second time it was INTJ. So maybe that's why we get along so much, is because we're both INTP. Who knows?
Ah.
But yeah, pull that up actually. Pull up the Briggs-Myers categories, because each of them has a name, like a nickname. Each of the. I want to know what INTP's
if you had to guess, like the way I appear to be, what would you? I mean, just based upon like if you didn't know that
I thought you were ENTP.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the E stand for again?
Extroverted.
Oh, so you thought you judged me as an extrovert?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're more social than me.
Okay.
To some degree.
All right. So what do you want me to pull up?
Yeah. Go to the Google Images and type in Myers-Briggs categories, because I want to know the nicknames of each of these categories.
Oh yeah.
What INTP's nickname was.
Okay, I found it here. What's your personality type? Okay, so there's 16 of them, right?
Yeah, there's 16 categories.
Okay, there we go.
I wonder what the P and the J are for. Let's see. Okay, so INTP. Damn it. Where are the names? They had names.
Oh,
Here they are. So INTP is. Fucking hell. Maximize this shit.
Yeah, you can always share your screen and I can see it.
Okay, so INTP is the architect. That's the name, the architect. And INTJ is the mastermind. So I am either. I got the first one was INTP, second was INTJ. So I'm either one of those. What was your second one? You had INTP and something else. ENTP?
You thought I was an ENTP and I.
Oh, ENTP. ENTP is the inventor. That's interesting.
Interesting.
I think they have one for like The Simpsons. Type in Briggs Myers, The Simpsons.
Oh, and I know they have like a Harry Potter system of.
You want to do that one?
Yeah, that's a cool one.
But people listening, type your Myers-Briggs result into the comments, and we'll tell you what you are. This is fun. I can understand
what
why
Harry Potter
horoscope people like this so much.
Yeah, what Harry Potter house do you think you fall into?
I think I'd be a Ravenclaw, because Ravenclaw are like very like inquisitive and like scholarly.
I always thought I was a Ravenclaw too. Maybe that's why we get it wrong so well, because we're in the same house.
Yeah, we'd be Ravenclaws, totally. INTP is Hermione. Yep, that checks out.
Oh wait, she's ENTJ.
Wait, is she? Who's this then?
According to these people are saying she's ENTJ.
Okay, who's INTP then?
INTP. I don't even see one.
INTP. Fuck.
I know that a lot of people use this system to determine like what
kind of job you want
and what type of what type of like mate that they would be attracted to. Like they think they're attracted to a certain type, right?
That's very horoscope like behavior. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for my college, when we were choosing a major, like after the first 2 years, you do your general ed and then you choose a major. We had to take this test to figure out what we wanted, and they recommended like INTPs go into like science and philosophy and whatnot. So that's what I ended up doing. I'm looking at pull up the Star Wars one. I think there was a Star Wars one. Briggs Myers Star Wars.
Briggs Myers Star Wars. Okay. Oh.
Okay. INTP is Yoda. We are fucking Yoda.
Wait,
apparently.
No, these people are saying Yoda is INFJ.
Fuck, we're not looking at the same one. Hang on, let me open this.
INTP is R2D2, I think?
R2D2.
Or is that C3PO? Wait. Is R2D2 the small little one?
Yeah, he's the tiny one. The one that looks like a garbage can.
Yeah, he's an INTP according to this. What kind of personality can you judge a freaking robot? That's ridiculous. How do you freaking judge the personality of
whatever personality you program it to do? Robots are usually scientists.
I don't feel like it has very much personality, though.
like Asimov, that writer we mentioned earlier, he talks about a lot of different kinds of robots. Sometimes they're used for like physical labor. Sometimes they're used for like intellectual labor. Depends. I don't know. We should do more videos on AI. We never talk about AI enough.
Yes,
it's an interesting topic.
It is.
What were some of the other topics we promised we'd get to at the beginning of this stream? We talked about coronavirus. We talked about religion.
We haven't even talked about life extension, and that's what this whole stream is about. It's like
get into that.
Doing the next right thing for life extension.
Okay, yeah, let's actually get into the title topic like, 2 hours into the live stream.
Yes. Life extension. So, what new things are you doing for life extension? You're doing the ketogenic diet. I'm doing the high freaking sugar diet. I'm doing like the trehalose diet. That's my diet.
Tell us about that. I want to hear how that works.
I just eat like 10 tablespoons of trehalose a day, and that's like probably like freaking like 900 calories of sugar.
Aren't you worried about like spiking your insulin? Do you spread them out? Take it all at once?
I spread it out.
You spread it out?
I spread it out into like at least 2 meals, so it's like, you know, boom, boom. It's like a dessert. So some like
that's not so bad.
Like
if you were doing it 10 times a day, you'd be spiking your insulin all the time, and that's horrible for you.
It's bad. Also, trehalose has a less glycemic index, so it's not like glucose. It's not like sugar. It has to be broken down. It has to be broken down by trehalase in the stomach, and it has a lower spike. So that's good right there.
So it's what you'd call a slow release carbohydrate, or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the one you really got to watch out for is fructose, because I think that's a very fast releasing one.
Yeah.
And obviously, like for my diet, I count my macronutrients. So I do like what my plan is to do keto for like the next year. So basically, most of my calories are going to come from fat. Maybe like 200 grams probably from fat, MCT oil, fucking avocado oil.
Dude, I'm gonna do that. I'm planning on taking a break from trailers just because I think it's good to take breaks from things.
Do keto with me. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's very scientific.
I love keto because I can just eat butter all day. I just freaking love butter. I can live on butter.
But yeah, so I do that, and then for protein, never go above 100 grams of protein, because your body's gonna start using that instead of carbohydrates, and you're gonna get the same kind of fucking effects. It'll kick you out of ketosis. So stay below 100 grams of protein. For me, I do like 90 grams of protein a day, like 200 grams of fat, and then like below 40 grams of carbs. So like, I mean, the protein powders I use a lot of like I try to do the vegan shit, so I have a lot of plant-based like vegan protein powders, and some of those have like carbs in them. So I think that more than accounts for my daily carb intake. But yeah, so that's my plan to do that. And then once I'm done keto, I'm going to switch to a high protein diet. So I'm going to do like, instead of doing 190 grams of protein a day, I'm going to do like 250 grams of protein a day. I'm going to run my fucking D-bowl cycle, and then like lift weights like mad, and try and like, because I want to be like physically fit for the boogaloo, for the apocalypse, for the collapse. Because like all those bench presses will pay off when there's like some deathist on top of you trying to slit your throat. I can just be like, ugh, bench, and fucking chuck people off.
Okay, I gotta check on something. You guys, you keep taking the questions. I gotta check on something.
Oh yeah. Questions. Hang on, let me pull up the stream. But yeah, so I'm gonna do like a keto diet that's just to strip the fat off, and then I'm gonna do a protein-based like bodybuilding diet. And there's a reason I'm doing that. So the reason is when you have fat cells, right, your estrogen to testosterone balance, it's all fucked up. You're getting all this estrogen release, and it's preventing you from building muscle. So a lot of people do what's called like dirty bulking and then cutting. I don't support that. So dirty bulking is when you purposely become a fat guy. You're like a sumo wrestler. You eat like a fucking pig, and you fill yourself. You get really fat, but you're also going to the gym and getting really strong, right? And then once you're fat and strong, you do what's called cutting, where you go on a very strict diet and you strip away all the fat, and it leaves the muscle behind. The problem with that is you've got to have like a specific metabolic profile to be able to execute that correctly. And I don't think this is for most people. So what I'm doing is I'm going to do the opposite of that. I'm going to kind of strip down to 12% body fat. I think I'm at like 18% right now. It's not that got a long way to go. But once I do that, all these fat cells are gone, right? And then my testosterone to estrogen ratio, that's more appropriate for building muscle. And that's when I can start eating like 10,000 calories a day and fucking 250 grams of protein and all this shit. So yeah, keto diet first, and then protein-based diet later. But let's get to some questions. People are watching. It's still the same 5 people. Nice. Oh, Gyri Silsey is back. The person from Denmark who was on our last chat.
Oh yes, I remember her.
Oh, okay. We got the hold on. Question from the carnivore diet guy. Evgeny says people are carnivorous. No, we are omnivorous. Take an evolutionary biology class where humans are omnivores for sure. You can tell by the development of our canines. How do you think people domesticated wolves and turned them into dogs? No, dogs are omnivorous too. They'll eat like berries and shit. Dogs are not carnivore. Yeah. Cats are carnivores. Dogs are not.
Wolves. You can also tell by all the nutrients that like we need from freaking animal products. It gets more than just B12. It's like we don't get ideal amounts of like the fats, right? The long chain fats, and you can't make that conversion from plant fats. But it's also like creatine, like that. Also, like you don't get enough creatine, and like supplementing with creatine will like enhance your brain. Some people say it like increases their IQ and everything. So, do you supplement with IQ? I mean, do you supplement with creatine?
I do. Yeah, I take it's in my vegan protein powders. They come with creatine, and I get like 5 grams a day. So creatine's a nootropic, but I spread it out. I take like 1.5 and then 1.5 and then 1.5. Some people are saying like it could cause the loss of hair, but there's just one study that does that, and it's the people were taking like 10 grams of creatine a day, and some of these people were genetically predisposed for hair loss. So I don't know. Evgeny, this is another criticism. This is for me. Too much protein can cause kidney failure. That's what they say. Yeah, so the people at my gym, this is bro science territory, they were all saying this too, but then when you actually look it up, there's a guy called on YouTube.
What gym do you go to?
It's called the Alexandria.
Does it have like full body red light machine?
No,
Dude, you need to switch over to Planet Fitness. They have full body red light machines.
Some
It's
gyms
awesome.
have cryotherapy and spas. Those are cool.
Dude,
but anyway,
Planet Fitness also
Evgeny
has
says,
like a hydro massage bed. It's so freaking a hydro massage bed. It is freaking awesome and it's cheap.
Do you guys have isolation tanks? That's pretty cool. I want to do drugs in there.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Evgeny says too much protein can cause kidney failure. Yeah, so that's what people were saying. But if you go type in Jeff Nippard protein, and he'll explain it. He's got all these like scientific. He's got this scientific analysis of that myth. It's actually not been proven that protein causes kidney failure. Because then all these fucking like I don't know, these bodybuilders would be dropping like flies from protein rather than dropping like flies from fucking steroids. But anyway. Does Transhumania have another channel? Yes, I do. I have multiple channels. One of them got canceled by the SJW crowd because I wasn't woke enough, but fuck them. I'll say whatever I want to say. Fuck. Gary Silsey says, hi, Waves. Herbivorous humans live longer than carnivorous ones. The study of blue zones showed that. Yep, that's true. I agree with her. The vegans, they're seen as like a conspiracy theory. They're kind of like the conspiracy theory truther movement of the nutrition community. But I think when you look at vegan science, a lot of it's super legit. Like this is very well studied. The carnivore diet is so new and we don't have enough like long-term studies to know what this will do to a person. I mean, there's not that many cultures in history that were entirely carnivorous. It's really hard to get data. Elena says, I gotta go. I'll watch the end of this stream later and see what I missed. Thanks and aloha. All right, say bye, Ro.
Thanks for being here, Elena.
S says, if you could make changes to your mind structure, such as removing the ego, as you mentioned earlier, is there anything else you might want to try altering? Yeah, the hypergamy instinct. I want to get rid of that so that I can, I've both been cheated on and cheated. So these are both the product of the hypergamy instinct. So if like the hypergamy instinct, sometimes when you're in a good relationship, it can make you act against your own interests. And that's why I'd support removing it. So both men and women have their own version of it.
Dude, did you feel like super guilty after you cheated? Like that must wreck your conscience.
Yep. I was like really young too. I was like 15, 16, 15. Yeah.
Was it was it a super serious relationship you were in?
Oh yeah. It was with her best friend.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, yikes. S says, oh wait, I've already seen this one. Okay. I think we got through all the questions. We finally got through the questions. I can't imagine once like 1,000 people start watching this.
Oh my
how hard it's gonna get to do questions. Good thing we only have like 100 fans.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so Elena's leaving. Do you want to wrap it up soon too?
Sure.
You want to keep going?
I probably have to go to sleep anyways sometime soon.
Yeah.
What time do you go to sleep?
I can make myself sleep. I have meditations and stuff stuff I do.
Did you have did you have a favorite question you got asked tonight?
A favorite question. Oh yeah. Let's go back through this list. There was a lot of good questions today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad people are asking more questions because on the last one we only got like 10 questions this time. Rowan, we missed a question by Elena. Rowan, you should create a list of all musical artists that have made songs about transhumanism living forever. Yeah, let's give some recommendations. Like
Grimes. So Lana Del Rey, that's my recommendation. No, she doesn't talk about transhumanism, but her freaking music is the best.
Do you guys like metal and rock? So Amaranth is a metal band from Denmark. It's spelled AMARANTHE. So they got tons of stuff, like the stuff I talk about on my channel. They make tons of music about that. The song "Digital World," that's about the Age of M, like mind uploading. The Nexus, that's also about mind uploading. Their song "Transhumanism," obviously. They got another song called "Put the Future on Hold." That's about cryonics. They do a lot of like the Trinity. That's like organisms, like hive minds and shit. They do a lot of like transhumanist music, but they make other stuff too. Like they'll make like love songs or inspiring songs, whatever. But yeah, check them out. Amaranth from Denmark. That's a transhumanist metal band.
Yeah, we should make like a combined music playlist for people to listen to.
They have a very interesting style. Like they'll take like the poppy, like the fucking Katy Perry style music, and then they'll do like metal with it. It's a very interesting style.
Amaranth.
But, yeah.
Do you have a favorite band?
Me?
Yeah. Or a favorite singer or anything like that?
Yeah, I have like a favorite EDM artist, like Rob Swire.
I typed in Amaranth, and this freaking like YouTuber came up with dressing in like big thongs and bikinis. It's like,
let me see.
Oh
yeah.
This is Amaranth. This is Alex's favorite band right here. She's a singer.
My favorite artist, I would say, is like Rob Swire from Pendulum. He used to be in a metal band called Zygen, and that became Pendulum, and then he started Knife Party, and now he just does, like, him and his friend just do podcasts on the Pendulum channel, on the Knife Party channel. It's really they're really entertaining to listen to. But like, yeah, Rob Swire, I think he's like if you listen to the podcasts, he's like a futurist, transhumanist type of guy. But most of the music is like instrumental. So check out Pendulum.
Pendulum.
I'll spell that for you, P-E-N-D.
I'm like the worst speller.
U-L-U-M. So Pendulum.
Pendulum.
But yeah, that definitely like shows my age, because they're not like very recent. Like, I think their height was in the 2010.
Dude, do you like Soundgarden? Black Hole Sun? That's like one of my favorite songs.
That's a good song.
Black Hole Sun,
I love
man.
like 90s grunge songs.
I freaking love that song. It's a great music video too.
This one's not Life Extension, but Prida, Eric Prydz. He's like a Swedish DJ. He just does like house music. It's all instrumental, but I think he's great. Nothing to do with transhumanism though. You have any others?
You know, a song about living forever, of course, Alphaville, freaking Alphaville. That's like the theme song for Eternal Life. Forever Young.
Oh, Forever Young.
Yeah, Alphaville, Forever
Young.
Yeah,
I remember.
This is like the theme song for Eternal Life. Man, love it. But yeah, there's a lot of. I like Billie Eilish. Lately, I like a lot of her songs. And
Oh, Grimes. Grimes is a transhumanist.
Yes.
Go listen to
Grimes.
Go listen to We Appreciate Power, and listen to it on ×2 speed or 1.5 speed. It's a better song when you speed it up.
Really?
Trust me. Yeah.
Wow.
Take my word for it.
Yeah, she literally talks about wanting to live forever in this song.
Yeah, so that song has interesting origins. It goes back to like a blogger named Curtis Yarvin, and he created this very dystopian political system called Neo-Reaction, and it's based on it's also based on like Nick Land and like hyperstitioning like some AI god, and the AI god rules over you. And it's also involved with like Rocco's Basilisk, which is like the thought experiment about like the hypothetical god being created in the future, like an AI that harvests your metadata to see if you were loyal to it. And then her whole song is like her confessing her loyalty to the AI god so that she'll be spared and have her mind uploaded to the simulation heaven. It's a very deep fucking song for a song that doesn't sound very deep. It just looks like it's just Grimes in a cyberpunk outfit singing, but the lyrics have such a great story behind them.
Right. It's like she's literally wanting to capitulate. She talks about capitulating to like the freaking AI god, right? The hypothetical god.
Another music recommendation. So Clayton, spelt K-L-A-Y-T-O-N. So Clayton is definitely a transhumanist. He has different projects. One of them is called Stellar. So he's also a Scandroid. I like Scandroid way better. Scandroid is like it's purely cyber. So here's some good songs to listen to: Neo Tokyo by Scandroid and Afterlife by Scandroid. Those are pretty great. It's a great place to start if you're into like cyberpunk music.
All right.
But yeah, that's a few transhumanist bands. I make a lot. I used to make a lot of transhumanist music too, but that's on a different YouTube channel, not the one I have now.
Dude, believe it or not, Taylor Swift came out with like a transhumanist song.
Oh, really? What's it called?
She's like a robot and everything. Let me see if I can find it. Taylor Swift. The song is called
Taylor Swift.
Song is called... What the heck? Why can't I find it? Are You Ready For It? That's what it was. Taylor Swift, Are You Ready For It?
Are You Ready For It? I've never heard that one.
Yeah, she's literally in this, I mean, at least the music video is transhumanisty. There's like robots in it. The music video was created by the same person who did the special effects for Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson.
That's cool.
So
holy shit.
In this music video, Taylor Swift literally like has the same like nude look that Scarlett Johansson had.
Yeah.
Where it's like she's like a nude looking robot with a nude exoskeleton. But it's really cool. Really cool. Very transhumanisty.
Okay, so far we got Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift, Amaranth, Pendulum, Eric Prydz, even though he's not transhumanist. I don't know, maybe he is. Clayton, aka Cell Dweller, aka Scandroid. Oh, he has another band called Circle of Dust, and there's a song called Alt Human. It's about transhumanism. That's a good one too. But that's like very, very like it's like a combination of like Pendulum, like the drum and bass, with the metal. So it's like EDM metal. I really like Cell Dweller.
Actually, I said Billie Eilish, but she hasn't as far as I know, she hasn't done anything really about transhumanism. But I should watch. She will. Mark my word. She's gonna make this song about like freaking living forever and transhumanism. I bet you anything.
If you like bands about like futurism in general, look into Gent, like DJENT. It's like metal combined with jazz and whatnot. But like literally all their topics are about like AI and like minds.
What is it?
DJENT.
Wait.
It's like a musical style.
DJENT. Gent.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a musical style that was really popular in like the mid 2010s, but then died really quickly. A good song to look up is like Aaron Marshall or Intervals, Epiphany. That was like the first Gent song that I heard.
Well, the first one that came up was like this one where he has a crazy instrument.
Yeah, they really like 8-string guitars. These Gent people.
Gosh, that's cool. Yeah.
I think like Born of Osiris, if you can consider them kind of gent-ish. Exotype, Nanovirus. That's another cool Gent song. It's very intro level. The Human Abstract, Animals as Leaders.
Are you reading off a list right now? You have a list already?
Yeah, I got a list of like Gent bands that were popular.
Nice.
I think these are all cool. But yeah, it fell out of favor because it's just like too progressive and too like esoteric. It's not very populist or friendly to the general public.
Mm-hmm.
I think like also like cyber goth music and like industrial music that could be very like that has a lot of transhumanist themes. I guess if you want to get into that.
I wonder if Amy Lee
from Evanescence.
I wonder if she has any like transhumanisty songs.
No, that's more like just gothic.
Gothic, right? She hasn't really broken out into transhumanisty stuff. I wish she would though. I think she'd do a good job at it.
Yeah, so there's a music list for people who are interested. I
wish Regina Spektor would make a transhumanisty Living Forever song. I think that'd be awesome.
There's so much potential for like music in this movement, but nobody. It's just too small of a movement, and nobody knows.
I know. Hey, well, Evanescence did have a song called "My Immortal."
I guess so.
That's her top song.
Yeah, that is. I thought it was like the "Wake Me Up" song.
But I think she's a Christian. I think that's her thing. That's why she calls it. Yeah, I think she's about living forever in the afterlife. I think. I don't know.
Maybe. It's weird because like goth rock is usually associated with like Satanism and shit. So.
Right.
But yeah, whatever. Good on you for being different. Fight the power, man. Go against the grain. Yeah, so that's our music list. Any final topics you wanted to go over? I think we're good, right?
Yeah, we're good. This has been a long stream.
All right, let's end it. Peace out, guys.
Peace out.
May you live forever. Death to the Reaper.
Yes.